Coming up now is another sparkling Two Mics podcast.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. We are the Two Mics. And, of course, it's that time on a Friday morning when we say a very, very warm welcome to the Porkmaster himself, Mr. Michael Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. A pleasure to be here. Bit of an historic night for you and I, which we'll explain to our listeners a little later
Indeed,
on.
we will, yes, absolutely.
But first things first, Mike. Today you've been celebrating your son's birthday.
I have. Well, yesterday now. Yeah, it's past now. But yes, it was his birthday up until midnight, yes.
Excellent. Went out for a bit of dinner at 5 o'clock. And
yeah,
all
I'm a
this
bit
kind of
hungry,
stuff.
actually, is the problem. We might be getting some food in a bit later because I ate very, very early. I had a sort of 5 o'clock dinner.
Well, but I eat at 5 o'clock every day when I'm working here with you.
But do you not have anything later when, when you get a bit closer to the time?
No.
I felt like a bit of a curb crawler tonight because I got here a bit earlier than normal because I came up thinking there was going to be this terrible weather.
Yep.
By the way, that snow that you predicted know, on Monday night, we haven't seen it.
It's going to come.
Well, no, it isn't. There is no snow in the southeast of England.
Got to be prepared. Rather to be early than to be late in life.
Well, it's better to do that, yeah. But I got, and you get to that point where you think, I'm a bit hungry. Should I get something to eat before I go into work?
Yeah.
And the only place that was open was a kebab shop.
Right.
And I drove past it very slowly.
You're talking about the one in the cut here?
The one in the cut,
yes.
Just down the road.
Yes.
I drove past it very
usually
slowly.
About 6 or 8 police cars parked outside.
Usually the armed response unit
That's
are in
right.
there, actually, about midnight.
Yeah.
And with the guns and everything. And I drove past and I thought, no, I don't really want a kebab. And then I did a U-turn, drove back again past it quite slowly.
Yeah.
And I thought, if anyone's watching this, they must be wondering what on earth is going on.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't have a kebab. So I just wanted you to know that because you're always accusing me on Twitter and elsewhere of being
stuffing your face with kebabs.
And I didn't have one. So, maybe I've turned over a new leaf.
Well, a couple of observations here. Firstly, you shouldn't be eating during a show, and you shouldn't be eating for 3 hours before a show. Do you not know the relationship between the diaphragm, the brain, the lungs, and the oxygen intake of your body?
Yeah, no, I'd be delighted to hear about it, though.
Well, I could tell you all about it.
I'd like to hear about the relationship between your brain and the reality.
Oh, really?
That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I am dealing reality, and you won't be able to breathe properly once you've stuffed a bit of pizza down your throat, and therefore, the point of me doing the show with you tonight is almost negated.
Well,
if you can't speak and can't talk, we are in the communication business.
We are indeed.
We are supposed to talk to the listeners.
Yes.
We are supposed to transmit our thoughts.
We're also supposed to have a conversation, which is not all about you shouting into the microphone.
No. I don't shout. Emphatic speech is different to shouting.
Yeah. Emphatic speech.
Yeah,
right.
I'm an emphatic speaker.
Are you?
But I always eat. I don't know what you're laughing at.
Well, he's a speaker.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. I always eat at about 5 o'clock or even earlier.
Do you not get hungry in the middle of the night, though?
No. Sometimes I eat at 3 o'clock, right?
Well, what did you have for dinner tonight, then?
I'm just trying to remember. You
didn't cook the shoulder of lamb yet, did you?
No, I haven't cooked the shoulder of lamb.
Have you got it yet?
Have I told you about the shoulder of lamb?
Well, you told me about it on Monday night.
Did I? Yeah, I got second prize in the meat raffle from the same
pub.
Us
all that.
It's incredible. I didn't know if I told you or not, but it's fantastic. I'm probably going to eat it to my sister.
What, do you think I'm some kind of psychic?
No.
I just thought you had, amazingly, maybe you would have cooked a shoulder of lamb.
Well, I didn't. It's a big shoulder of lamb, by the way, and I picked it up.
I got talking about I had a tweet from somebody this week. I don't know if you saw it. It was the guy who said that he was at work and his boss came up to him and started talking to him. And his first words out of his mouth were "well," and he found himself just going back "well."
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, because that's the old the Sven contact, isn't it? But that has been replaced a little bit with the Louis Van Gaal.
Van Gaal, yes.
But anyway, look, getting back to the eating
what did you have
thing.
for dinner? How can you not remember what you had for dinner
I had
7 hours ago?
I had 2 beef sandwiches.
Beef sandwiches?
Yeah, beef sandwiches.
What sort of beef? What do you mean, like sliced beef?
Yeah, sliced beef.
Cold sandwiches?
Yes.
Well, that's not dinner.
Yes, it is. That's all I need.
That's a
On the
snack.
day when I'm working and coming in here to see you, that's all I eat, honestly.
See, this is why I worry about you and this marathon overnight show that we do, because, I don't think you've got enough sustenance to keep you going.
No, I've got plenty. Your
blood sugar levels are going to drop.
No, I've just had a tin of Tango, actually, which is very nice. I like the old Tango.
That's not good for you.
No, it's good for you. Now, what you just said there about the, you're going to have a kebab, then you didn't have a kebab.
Yeah.
I wish you had a kebab, because then all the eating process would be out the way, really.
Yeah, but I just didn't fancy one.
Do you know what? When I used to be the news editor of the Daily Express, highly important job, high pressure, all that kind of stuff. Many moons ago.
Yeah.
And, it used to be quite stressful. And I remember one night driving home and thinking, right, I'm going to head for the Chinese now and have a Chinese takeaway. And as I got to the Chinese and parked in front of it, I thought, I don't really want a Chinese, I want an Indian.
Yeah.
So I started the car up again, and I drove about 2 miles to the nearest good Indian.
Right.
And when I got there, I suddenly decided, it's actually pizza that I want tonight. Right. I don't want this Indian at all. So I started the car up again and drove off in the other direction.
Had you got into these establishments?
No.
You just stayed in the car?
Yeah, I just got there and thought, I don't really want this. And then when I got there, no joke, to the Domino's pizza, I thought, I haven't had a McDonald's for ages. I really would love a McDonald's.
Do you think maybe you'd just be making too many decisions that day?
I don't know. But I then drove to a McDonald's, right, which was a drive-through.
Yeah.
But just as I got to the window, I decided what I really wanted was Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Right.
So I said to the girl, look, I'm awfully sorry to waste your time.
Just when you weren't living in some rural
Exactly. I said, I don't really... I don't really
so
want
you got
anything.
to the window and said, what do you want?
Yeah,
I don't want anything.
I don't want anything, thank you. I'm just driving through. Seriously, yeah. And,
they must have been perplexed by that.
Yeah, and she thought I was...
you can't get out then, you have to stop at the first window.
Well, exactly.
And then they say, what do you want? You say nothing.
I know, yeah.
They must have thought you were a complete madman.
Well, it wasn't a window. The first thing you stop at is like a speaking board.
Yeah, no, I know, but
after
after
the board.
that...
And then you go, and she said, where's your order? I said, I haven't got one. She said, why? I don't want anything. What are you doing in the queue? I said, I've changed my mind. I'm awfully sorry. I'm going to the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Right.
And I did, and I bought a bucket of chicken and ate the lot.
Right.
So I eventually got there in the end.
Thank goodness for that.
But I mean, it was...
Well, this time it was time to go back to work, wasn't it?
Yeah, nearly. I mean, it was such a mental torment for me. You know, I didn't really know what to do.
I think people do. I remember seeing a cartoon once in front of the Telegraph, those little Mac cartoons of a guy who was its executive driving home. And you know when you get to those traffic islands in a one-way street,
yes,
and there's two arrows going in opposite,
left, couldn't decide which one to go.
And he just smashed into the island. Yeah, and he just said, "I just won too many decisions for the day."
That's right. Yeah, no, I believe it was something to do with that. You know, it's a strange phenomenon. It happened to me more than once. And then sometimes I just want the most basic food in the world, like a piece of toast or something like that. Yeah. That's all I want,
Well, sometimes that's the case. But because of the fact that I work strange hours, I'll quite often eat very odd things. I mean, this morning, for example, I went home and had a meatball sandwich for breakfast.
Right, okay. Well,
which most people would think is a bit odd.
I think it's a bit odd. What sort of bread you put it on?
I just had some rye bread that I had.
Right, some rye bread and
nice.
meatball sandwich, eh?
Yeah.
Not sure about that. No, I always try in the mornings to have some frosted shreddies, right? And
frosted shreddies. Have you seen all the pictures that were tweeted in after your revelation?
No, I
that
haven't.
This was your favourite cereal.
No,
and you said it wasn't designed for children. And every single, promotional pack of this stuff is clearly appealing to kids.
Is it
it's
really?
got, win a free holiday to Disneyland. And
is
all
it
that
really? Well, isn't that amazing? But
I don't think it's amazing at all.
I do think it's amazing.
That is the most horrible put down you just issued so early in the show.
No.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah,
Did you have any trouble making any decisions the other night at Upton Park?
Yes. It was shocking.
Yeah.
It was absolutely shocking.
How many times have you missed 20 goals in your lifetime as a football supporter?
Unbelievable. Of course,
I
you
bet
never
you're
have.
going to blame Mr. Brazil for this, are you?
Well, I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm glad you've given me the opportunity to explain myself here. You have to remember, it was on the day of a bus strike in London, right? There was no public transport.
Well, there's trains to Upton Park.
Hang on, I'm about to say to you, cars are at a premium, hire cars are at a premium, no limos.
Well, what's wrong with Underground?
Well, it's too far away from Upton Park. It's a hell of a walk. It's about a mile away. Yes, it is. It is. Anyway.
What about Plaistow? That's quite near, isn't it?
The point of the story is...
You just don't want to go on public transport.
Is that we had to organise a car for such and such a time, OK? Yeah. And we did, and it was, literally on the whistle. Anyway, we get a message from this driver with...
Well, it wasn't on a whistle because you left 10 minutes before the end.
I'm just about to say, with quarter of an hour to go, right? And the driver said, Mr. Parry, Mr. Brazil... I cannot...
and at this point, what's it, 2-1 to Everton?
No, is it?
No,
it's 1-0.
It's 1-0
to West Ham.
All right, OK.
I cannot...
Oh, so you weren't even in extra time at this point?
No. We didn't even know it was going to be extra time. So he said, the message said, I cannot pick you up at the designated time in 15 minutes' time. It has to be now or it will be 2 hours. And Al and I were a bit panic-stricken because we were both working on the breakfast show the next day. I in particular had to be here for 6 o'clock, or 5:45, or whatever. We had to get home. We knew that the crowds coming out at the end of the game would make it very difficult to even find the car, let alone get in it, even if it was there. Yeah. So we had to make a spot decision. And I said, and Al said, look, I'll go. And I said, look, I better come with you because I don't know what time I'll get out. And I said, it looks as though it may be over for Everton. I mean, terrible thing to say about your own team.
I know.
So I left.
Shocking.
And then, of course, we're listening to it on the radio in the car, and then it was 1-1.
Yeah.
Then it was 2-1 Everton. Then it was 2-2. We got back to the hotel just in time for the penalty shootout, so at least we got that in. But it's shockingly bad luck, and I'm ashamed of myself because I didn't see the team in one of the classic matches.
Well, particularly since you haven't had the opportunity to see Everton that many times.
Well, exactly. That's absolutely true. We're going to Palace on the 30th, is it?
Yeah, amazingly, they've invited us back. 31st, I think.
31st, I think it is, yeah. So that'll be great. But no, it was...
That's the same day as Chelsea are playing Manchester City, by the way. So it's a big weekend, that.
Is it? Yeah, OK.
Look at the light!
But ours is a Saturday, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So that game must be the lunchtime game, then?
I don't know.
So we can probably take that in before we go to Selhurst Park.
Very possibly, yeah.
I would imagine we can. Of course I've seen the time, because I've just had a message flash through my ears, through my headphones, telling me to look at the light. What is this expression, look at the light? I don't even know what it means.
No, look into the light.
Look into the light. Look into the light.
Because you can't do two things at the same time. If I get you to look at the light, at least you stop talking for 2 minutes. That's the whole point of it.
I don't know.
We are the two Mikes. This is Talk Sport. Loads more coming up. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, and he's not Mike Parry. For some reason, he's disappeared out of the studio. He's having more problems with his information device. It doesn't seem to be updating for some peculiar reason. We'll see what we can do about that. We've got lots of... oh, you're back now. Good.
Yeah,
Why are you
sorry.
limping, by the way?
Knee's gone. Oh, that's very nice, isn't it? That's fantastic sympathy.
Well, because after last week, when you came in like, something out of the Outbreak movie covered in plastic with those pink gloves,
yes,
you actually look quite well this week. You look as if you've finally managed to banish the lurgy.
I've banished the lurgy.
What about that guy who works here at Talk Sport? I don't want to give away his name. Who's apparently developed some kind of weird problem after having been in the Brazilian jungle for the World Cup.
Do you know what? This shocks me, because I met him at lunchtime last Friday.
Yeah.
Was it? Yes, it was lunchtime Friday.
Don't say who it is, by the way.
I'm not going to say who it is, but I met him at an outside location.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, we're going to have some lunch with some other people from TalkSport, but he came as a scouting party.
Yeah, right.
So he walked in and he sat down opposite me, and I said, "Are you all right?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Your eyes are yellow."
Yeah.
I said, "You've got jaundice."
Right.
I said, "You've either got a liver problem or you've got very high cholesterol."
Dr. Parry.
Yeah, well, I could tell.
Yeah.
So he said, "What?" I said, "How do you feel?" He said, "Terrible." I said, "I've just bought you a pint of Guinness." He said, "I can't drink it. It tastes awful." I said, "You're in trouble. You've got to go and see your doctor."
Right.
So I think I've probably saved this boy's life.
Yeah, may have done.
Because I made him ring up his doctor. He lives the other end of a tube line, And I said, "Get yourself in there this afternoon for an emergency appointment." I said, "Because you are in trouble." I diagnosed it immediately. When we were in America once, there was a great story we did about some doctor who was watching a quiz show.
Yeah.
And one of the contestants, there was a close-up on his, a sort of head and shoulders close-up of his face.
Right.
And the doctor rang the TV station and said, "That contestant you've got has got about an hour to live.
Really?
Get him out of there immediately." And they said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm a heart consultant."
It must have been a live show then.
It was a live show.
Otherwise he might have already been dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, would have died, yeah. And he said... he
Imagine
said,
that if it
he's
was a
dying.
pre-recorded show.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but it wasn't. It was live.
Okay.
And he said, "Get him out of there." He said, he's dying. And sure enough, the guy was taken out. They rushed him to hospital, and he had a building blood clot in one of his arteries.
Was it Jeopardy they were playing?
Oh, I don't know. That wouldn't be live, would it?
I don't think so.
They record about 6 of those at a time, don't they?
Yeah.
What a stupid programme that is.
Jeopardy.
You have to guess the question, not the answer, don't you?
Maybe we should do a quiz like that.
Well, maybe you can if you like, and I wouldn't be able to understand
Quiz
it.
is on tomatoes, by the way, today.
Tomatoes?
Tomatoes, yeah.
Okay, you say tomato, I say tomato.
You said you're an expert on tomatoes.
I didn't say that. I never said that.
Yes, you did.
I've never claimed to be an expert on tomatoes or anything else. Now, we did start talking about your little boy's birthday.
Yes, we did.
I've got a present for him.
Have you? That's very kind of you.
And it's
a
not
day late, mind you.
It's not a shoulder of lamb.
Thank God for that.
As a lot of
people on Twitter thought it might be.
Exactly. I have brought him something which I think will stimulate his love of the outdoors.
Okay.
Stimulate his
you've
interest.
wrapped it up very nicely.
Yes.
In a plastic bag.
Well, it's a funny shape. Stimulate his interest.
It's not the only thing that's a funny shape.
What do you mean by that?
Nothing.
What are you referring to?
Nothing at all.
You're referring to my face,
No,
my head? Or?
No, just your general shape.
Oh, general shape.
Yeah.
I see, right. Anyway, look, I want you to take this home. And what's your son's name again?
Christopher.
There you are. That's for Christopher. What are you laughing at?
I mean, you wrapped it up.
Well, I can't wrap it up.
Why can't you wrap it up?
It's a strange shape.
Well, did it come in a box?
No, it's a model. It's a duck.
It is a duck, yeah.
It's a duck. It's
not a real duck, luckily.
It's a blue...
What's it made of?
Blue and white duck with a yellow beak. Yellow feet. What's that for?
You've given it away already.
What's that for?
You've given it away before I can have a chance to give it to him.
I'm
going to have to wrap it up.
No, you won't. You have to wrap it up. You
What's
don't
it
wrap
made
it up.
of?
And be careful of the feet. The feet are a bit delicate.
What's it made of?
Well, don't be banging it.
Is it wooden?
Yeah, of course it's wooden.
Is it hand carved?
It's a hand-carved wooden duck. And it's...
It looks a bit like Donald Duck, doesn't it?
Yes, it does look a bit like Donald Duck, yeah. But I think it's a very,
Where'd
very
you get
nice...
this from?
I bought it from a shop.
Well, what sort of shop?
Well, a sort of...
Duck shop?
No, not a duck shop. A sort of one of those.
I'll tell you, you would love this, actually. My mother would love this, because she collects ducks.
Really?
Model ducks, yeah.
Really? Well, you've never told me that before. You know my interest in ducks. You never told me that about your mother.
Yeah, she's got ducks of all manner of shapes and sizes. She's got brass ducks.
I have
she's
as
got
well.
wooden ducks. She's
I have.
got all sorts
I have.
ducks.
And that was one I would have added to my collection, but I've decided to give it to your
sure
son
you
instead.
haven't just taken it from your collection?
Of course I haven't.
Yes, you have, haven't
I
you?
have not.
You have not bought
I
this.
have not.
No, you've taken it from your collection.
I have not. That's a terrible thing to say. I went out to the shop
I'm sure
to buy
he'd
it
be
for him.
delighted.
Good.
I mean, it looks like you would use it as like a doorstop, but it's not heavy enough.
No. It's an ornament. It's an ornament.
You just
it's
put
a
it on
duck.
the windowsill.
Yeah, put it on the windowsill. Yeah, you'd probably call it Daffy or something like that.
Oh, you could use it as a sort of lure, couldn't you?
As a what?
A lure.
What's a lure?
A lure, to put it out and attract other things to come towards it.
Why? Why would you do that?
Kill. Well, it looks like one of those things, like a fake duck that you would put out there.
I think you're mad.
Well, no, that's what people do. They put a fake duck somewhere, and then the fox comes to try and eat
So
it.
when you used to live in the country, you used to go around one of those duck whistles, did you?
I didn't
quack,
know.
Quack,
No.
quack, quack, and then shoot them.
Well, no, but
That's
I
what
mean,
people
it
do.
does look a bit like one of those fake things, the sort of Anyway,
Yeah.
the thought that counts.
Yeah, let me-
it's very kind
yes,
of you.
There you go.
I'll take it.
So that's it.
I'll
yeah.
take a picture. The guys
Yeah.
behind the glass are saying they think it looks more like a seagull.
No, it's not a seagull. It's a duck.
It's definitely got a duck's
look
bill.
At it. Your eyesight going out there, is it?
It's definitely got a duck's bill.
Yeah. But there we are.
Apparently only one of them behind the glass.
Yeah,
Well, no,
okay.
it's very kind of you.
Well,
but I do feel that I may have to wrap it up in some way and make it look like it's actually a present, rather than just
Well-
handing him some. It's part of the enjoyment for a child
Yes.
is opening the presents. We don't just give him presents that aren't wrapped up.
Well, he'd be so excited that it won't matter.
He will.
Don't
yeah.
worry.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
He'll go straight to that and want to play with it all day.
Exactly.
Probably.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
So there you go. Okay.
That's
Well,
very kind of you.
don't say
Now
never
tell
think
us
of it.
while we're at the shoulder of lamb junction.
Yeah.
What on earth has happened to the shoulder of lamb? Have you taken delivery of it yet?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah.
Have you?
I'm probably going to give it to my sister for this weekend.
Oh, are you?
It's a big shoulder of lamb.
Is it?
It only just fits in my fridge.
Well, how small is your fridge?
No,
how
fridge
big
is
was the
big.
sheep? Some kind of magic giant
No,
sheep.
I'm telling you, it's probably the size of. It's probably the size of.
Well, it's not like the size of your head or anything, is it?
It's the size of your head.
Size
It's
of
definitely
my
the size
head?
of your head, yeah, and you've got a big head. But
That's a very large lamb, then.
It is, and it'll take a lot of
What
cooking.
sort of lamb was that?
Well, I don't know, do I? I didn't ask.
That's ridiculous.
what
I
sort of
don't think it's a
it came
lamb
from.
at all. You sure it's not somebody else they've given you?
No. It's
shoulder of ox or
No,
something?
no, not at all. But it looks really good indeed. Lovely to have it in the house. But as I say, I
Well,
should
remember
probably give
that.
it to my sister.
Your sister won't. Your sister won't need. Your sister won't need a recipe because she's very good at cooking, isn't she?
Well, I've got two sisters. The younger one is a home economist,
Right.
right? And she's excellent at cooking and all that.
Is that who you're giving it to?
No, I'm going to the older one, and she's pretty good at cooking,
Okay.
but she didn't study cooking like my younger sister did,
Right.
But she'll make a real success of
Well,
it.
I can send you that recipe if you wish.
Which recipe?
The one I told you about on Monday night. You don't remember anything you said
I
on
do,
Monday night.
I do. It's all it's doing is scattering a bit of rosemary over the
Well,
lamb.
no, then
that's all.
you have to massage the shoulder with olive oil.
Well, I'm not
and
putting any garlic in it to start off with, so you
So
can
you're going
forget
to
about that.
You're going to eat it this weekend then?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a date on it. 19th. So we're going to cook before then.
You'll probably miss it now that you've said it's so nice to have it in the house.
Yes,
Once
yes,
you
I
give it
will. Yeah.
away.
And I have to say,
So if it doesn't fit in the fridge, where do you put it then?
well, it is in the fridge.
Oh, okay.
I got it in the fridge. I cleared things out of the fridge.
Oh,
right?
okay. You didn't put it out on the terrace.
No.
What news from the terrace?
Well, this is the point, you see. After a very stressful week with builders and lawyers, believe it or not.
Yeah, do you remember what I said? I said this will go on forever because
will
you've
go
got
on
lawyers
forever.
involved. So what's happened? What's the latest?
Well, the latest is that all these Italian tiles are piled up on the scaffolding next to the roof garden,
Yeah.
along with, I would say, 10 or 12 rolls of asphalt, okay?
Yeah.
Now, do you know how windy it was on Monday night, or was
Yeah.
it Tuesday night? Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. Yeah, very windy, yeah.
Very windy Tuesday night. And I was convinced that the tiles and the asphalt were going to disappear and the scaffolding was going to collapse and all that. But then on Wednesday morning, I get a letter from the company that looks after the servicing of the block, the building,
right.
to say that there's a 30-day cooling off period now for
God.
legal applications.
So what's happened to the cherry picker then? You're going to take that away?
Funny enough, I'll get to that in a minute. So I ring them up and I say, what on earth's going on here? I said, I first reported a problem here last June, right?
Yeah.
You sent a surveyor around in October, decided the work needed done, and I said, well, get it done quickly because we're going into winter. We've just had the driest summer on record, so you've missed the boat there.
Yeah.
They didn't turn up until December the 22nd,
Right.
put the scaffolding up,
Yeah.
but then left it all over Christmas, right?
Right. Because
And
of
then-
the weather.
Because of weather. Well, because of Christmas, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then came back at the start of January And then the lorry came with all the materials. They had to mount a pulley to get it all up to the requisite height and all that kind of stuff. Just as they're about to start, I get a text from...
You got a phone... Didn't the builder get a phone call on Monday to say that you had to stop work immediately?
And what's happened is...
But I warned you about all this. I told you this would happen.
But the thing is, they look after dozens, if not scores, of buildings. Yeah. And they forgot to go through the proper procedure of representation with other lessees about, like when you have building work done, you've got the objections and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you might have seen that story this week in Evening Standard that Jimmy Page has complained about Robbie Williams.
The £40 million house,
because Robbie Williams wants to redo the swimming pool and all sorts of other things.
Wants to put a basement in and wants to put a new window in which will overlook Robert Plant's property.
Jimmy Page's?
Jimmy Page, that's right.
Near there.
Yeah, that's right. No, he's the singer of the same band.
That's right, yeah.
And do you know what, Mike? I read that and I thought to myself, it honestly doesn't matter how much you pay for your property in this country, where it's located, or how much care you take to make sure your home is your castle. Yeah. Something can always go wrong.
Well, exactly.
I mean, for instance,
this is what I said. You must get permission from everybody else in the building.
But they should have done that. They should have done that.
You said that what you said went, and you were the guy that had control over the whole place. And now you found yourself hoisted by your own petard.
No, I haven't. I've had plenty of work done there before, and it's all gone through smoothly.
Well, maybe that's why this time they're complaining.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the point is, what I'm saying to you is that even like when you used to live in Wiltshire and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. You were always in danger of the local council saying, we're suddenly going to put a travellers' camp at the end of this road where you live.
Well, I'll tell you what.
It can happen anywhere.
Well, I thought we'll have to continue this because we're running out of time once again. But I mean, I had a problem with the house that got flooded, in fact, where we bought that house. And
absolutely, on a floodplain.
We wanted to do something to it, and the guys from the council came round, and the first thing they did was they saw a garage on the property, and they said, what's that doing there? Yeah. And I was like, well, that was there when we moved in. And they said, well, there's no permission for that. And they started saying, you'd have to get rid of it. And I was like, we're not getting rid of it.
Ridiculous.
It's full of junk. You can't get rid of it. Anyway, we'll talk more about that coming up. We're also going to talk about your mate David Ginola, because he's in the news tonight.
David!
And I dare say you'll have some updates for us on that, because you talk to him all the time.
I do.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There'll be a podcast out later on, and we're going to have a look at the back pages. We're going to talk David Ginola and much else besides. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. Mike Parry's here. We are the two mics, of course, and that piece of music can only mean one thing, Mr. Parry.
Sorry, you're laughing.
Can you not pay attention?
I am paying attention. I'm paying attention.
Why are you staring into your information device?
Why am I staring into my information device? I'm trying to find out the response from the listeners to my generosity in buying your son a duck, which you seem a bit reluctant to accept and expand upon.
I'm not convinced it's the world's greatest present for an 8-year-old.
I want to stimulate the boy's interest. I mean, Ben's here in the studio. I want to stimulate the boy's interest in wildlife, in the environment around him. I mean, Mike keeps claiming that he lives in this mansion in the country. It's actually a shack in a muddy field.
It's not a mansion.
But
I've never claimed it was a mansion.
No, I know you haven't, because it's a shack. And
rat-infested shack, I think you referred to.
Yeah, that's right. The rat-infested shack.
The rats are gone now.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Oh, God, miracles never stop, do they? And I'm just, now getting some very nice responses from the audience saying, an act of pure generosity, Mike. Well done, and don't take any nonsense from the fat man.
Have you put a picture of this duck on your social media?
We have.
Can I see this duck? I've not actually seen this duck yet. Is it handy?
I put it back in the plastic bag.
No, I put it back in its container.
I appreciate it's a very visual thing for it.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's quite spectacular.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you think?
What? Yeah. I mean, what more does any 8-year-old boy want than a wooden duck?
Exactly.
It's got quite scary eyes, though. Almost quite. I wouldn't use the word satanic, but quite devilish.
Satanic duck.
Yeah. Satanic duck.
That'd be about right for Porky.
It's like Count Duckula.
Yeah. Now let's find out from Mr. Parry what the story is about David Ginola, because it's on the back page of the Sun, isn't it?
Well, it's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely amazing.
What's he got to say about it?
Well, I can't really reveal any inside secrets about what David's thinking about this
He's been on the phone.
I can't even reveal that to you, I'm afraid.
Because I've been on his Twitter, but there's a lot of it's in French.
Yeah.
So I can't work out what he's saying.
That is right. But I mean, look, David is a fantastically charismatic man, we'd all agree, wouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And
he's worth it.
Yes, exactly. One time when he was working here, that's right. What's that? Is that L'Oreal or something? Yeah, L'Oreal. One time when he was working here, he and Mr. Brazil and I decided to go to like a wine bar in the City of London.
Yes.
He is so charismatic, people were falling over themselves to get to his chair, sitting on a high stool at the bar and falling on their knees in front of him, and, women sort of swooning and men sort of drooling at his good looks and all that kind of stuff. And all I'm saying is, you wouldn't believe the effect that charisma that a person has can get you anywhere you want in any job you want. People with charisma. Right. I mean, David Beckham gets everywhere on charisma. Yeah. He's got other qualities, of course he has, but he is in fact just a very appealing man.
I think, isn't he?
Sorry,
he gets everywhere in a Bentley, I think.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, you fool. And I'm sure David will be working on that. Why shouldn't he run FIFA?
Well, because he doesn't qualify for a start.
I think the interesting thing will be how much of a gimmick this is and how serious it actually is, because David Ginola, he needs to be officially nominated by 5 member states of FIFA before, I think it's January 29th.
Could you not have a word with some of your guys at the FA to get them to support his bid?
That's one.
Well, sorry?
That's 1 out of 5, so he needs 5 member states.
That's 20% of the way there.
20% of the way there.
Would the French help him or whatever?
Well, Jerome Champagne's standing as well, isn't he? So it's all about, is he going to split the vote, or how's that going to work?
Is there any reason why the world's world exclusive and Stephen Howard's byline and the world exclusive on the back is written in green? Is there any significance in this?
Well, I do wonder. I'd have to...
Well, because there's some suggestion this might be a betting company's PR stunt.
It could well be. It could well be. I can't see... I mean, there are very, very strict rules about these things, and it's all very well sort of... Yeah, I do agree, charisma does get you a lot of places. Whether or not it will get you to the summit of world's football's governing body, I'm not entirely convinced. But he does need to be nominated by 5 member states of FIFA, and he also would have needed to have been involved within football administration and the like for the last 5 years, which he hasn't been. Now, of course, David Ginola was involved with the failed, disastrous debacle that was the 2018 World Cup bid for England, and that's the only thing I can think of.
I've got some bad news for you on this story, because I'm just reading the inside stuff from Stephen Howard. It starts off like one of your books.
Yeah.
You've got absolutely no facts in it at all. David Ginola came striding into the lounge of the Gosforth Park Hotel.
Yes.
It was August the 24th, 1995.
That's right, a long time
ago. And the Frenchman had just signed for Newcastle United.
Yeah.
There's the 2 opening paragraphs.
That's right, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Even in those days, when you get to most footballers and managers, even Diego Maradona, Johan Cruyff, Jurgen Klinsmann, this interview was a bit special, because nothing was off limits, and he told it as it was. Well, you see,
that's fine, but that's like 20 years ago.
Yeah. But I was about to say to you,
it sounds like a romance novel. Sorry to butt in.
It does sound like a romance
novel.
No,
please do butt in. Otherwise, you'll never get a word in.
Asking if I minded if he smoked, I usually ask that. He lit up a Philip Morris light and suitably relaxed, expounded on his life today. What's this about?
It's literally like the start of one of Porky's books.
It's like a romance novel. It's like 50 Shades of Ginola. You know what I mean?
He then goes on to say how Lee Dixon and Ian Wright both told him to off when Arsenal had knocked the Paris Saint-Germain out of the Cupners' Cup 2 seasons previously. A lot of useless information here in his bid to become the big boss. But I can tell you a charismatic story about Zavid. When he was playing... David.
Zavid, you said?
I said David.
No, I thought it sounded like
Zavid. When he was playing for Aston Villa,
in the bag there.
He had a home in the Golden Triangle, which is based around a village called Lapwick. And it's where people...
I thought that was in the Far East, the Golden Triangle.
No,
I thought that was where all the heroin came from.
No, this is the West Midlands Golden Triangle. Okay? It's not the Middle East. It's not the Middle East. Not the Middle East. You're confusing West Midlands with Middle East.
No, I said the Far East.
Quite a long way away from each other.
I said the Far East.
Anyway, look, ignore him for a minute, Ben. And Andy Townsend lives there. Steve Bruce, Karen Brady, Jasper Carrot. They all live there, you know.
All the big names.
Yeah, all the big names, yeah.
Fantastic.
And they're all...
It's like an episode of Great British Bake Off.
That's right. And they're all standing on the lawn at the front of the house sipping champagne because there's an afternoon reception going on Sunday. And all of a sudden, this red Ferrari comes gliding up the road. And the man sitting in the driving seat has long, flowing blonde hair, sunglasses, and a cashmere sweater wrapped around his shoulders. And it was, of course, David Ginola. And he didn't get out the car. He leapt out the car. He didn't bother opening the door. He leapt out, very athletically and sportingly. And, of course, all the women were swooning and, the men looking on in envy. And that's the sort of impact that David has on people, OK?
And that's not going to get the job at FIFA,
well,
is
it might do.
Because you haven't exactly described the success of the Sepp Blatter.
It might do.
I don't remember him having blonde hair, David Ginola.
Yeah, of course he had blonde hair.
Well, he sort of had highlights, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, yeah. And, of course, he spent a lot of his time, when he was here at Talk Sport, out on the fire escape smoking, because he's an inveterate smoker, isn't he?
With me.
Sorry?
With me.
With you, exactly. Yeah. So what did you and he discuss about football
Well, I can't
philosophy?
possibly say.
No, exactly.
I can't possibly say. We talked a lot about marriages. We talked a lot about women, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. You might be surprised to know, but I've been sworn to secrecy.
But
I see.
It makes you wonder if Boris Johnson can become mayor of London, which was essentially a popularity contest.
Sure.
Wasn't it? People voted
but he was already a
quirky.
politician, though.
He was, yeah. But David Ginola already involved in the world of football.
Yeah,
sure,
but is he involved enough in the world of football in terms of the administration of it?
I think the difference is it's not a public vote. If it was a public vote, he'd be president tomorrow. Because it's got to go through FIFA, all this kind of thing, I don't think it's going to happen. It's a nice gimmick. It's a nice story. I would be amazed. It would be great for us, if the FIFA president, breakfast co-host.
That's right,
absolutely. But
absolutely.
I'm afraid I don't want to be a party pooper, but I don't see it.
Can you imagine Alan Brazil being consulted on some of the world's top issues in the world of football because of the close relationship between David and Alan?
Yeah, well, I think you should pick up the cudgel here because you have some experience in the administration of football.
I certainly do.
From your time at the FA.
I certainly do.
I
introduced some policies which, to this day, are shaping football in this country.
Like what?
Such as?
Well, I don't want to go into them because I don't want to claim credit for things that other people would like to claim credit for.
Really?
Even though...
Well, the FA is going really well at the moment. I must say, I'm not surprised at some of your ideas they're working on.
I was the inspiration, and I can take great pride in.
Well, you've now sort of focused on one story on the back page.
Yeah.
We've hardly had any time to look at anything else.
Well,
but we'll have a look at
some
of the transfer stories a little bit later on. But we should mention the Aston Villa demo because that's all over the back pages as well. And Paul Lambert's asking the fans to please stay with us, meaning, I presume, don't keep demonstrating and trying to get me out.
He's got to really, hasn't he, for his own job, and also because it's a little bit embarrassing that the fans are effectively having a go at his boss. But it's not great for Villa, is it? I think, is it 11 goals they've scored all season?
Yeah.
I mean, they're in such trouble. And what else do you do as an Aston Villa fan? You're not happy with, the lack of investment in the squad. You're not happy with the managerial side of things, potentially. The stats don't lie. Lambert out is on the back of the Star. That's a picture of a banner at Villa Park, and it's just really, really bleak. And I think, vote with your feet. It'll end up being about 100 people. I'm not belittling the cause in any way, shape or form, but it was like the bin bag protest at Arsenal. Do you remember that a couple of years ago?
Oh, yeah.
We were told that was going to be it, and it was going to be a huge thing, and it didn't end up being that big a deal. So Lambert will probably get his way in as much as I don't think many fans will join in. Could be wrong, could be a huge thing, but I just think, a lot of these things it's all talk and in the end no trouser.
Yeah, indeed. Imagine if Porky was an Aston Villa fan, they could score another 9 goals and you wouldn't have seen any of them.
Yeah.
This is
absolutely
TalkSport.
true.
Just look into the light for a moment. A couple of quick tweets for you. Porky, you are raving mad, says Paul, after the duck is there. And did he win it in a raffle, asked Craig.
No.
But look in the light for a moment.
Okay.
We are the two mics. We've got lots more coming up. We're going to talk about Porky's next pet idea coming up next. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mics, and we've got loads going on. Coming up later on, I think it's in the next hour, actually, we've got Steve Emerson coming on. You remember Steve Emerson?
Of course I do.
Him last week after those terrible events in Paris. But he became this worldwide sort of, I don't know when you use the word celebrity, but pundit, after he went on Fox News at the weekend, after he'd been on our show, to declare that Birmingham was basically a no-go area if you weren't a Muslim. And, he's become this kind of figure of hate on Twitter.
Really?
And he's very kindly acquiesced to coming back on to explain
what
to
time's
us...
he coming on the show?
I think it's 2:15 or so.
Excellent, that's great.
2:15. So we're looking forward to talking to him, because I actually feel a bit sorry for him, because I think he was kind of goaded into it. I don't know if you saw the interview on Fox News, but I think he kind of just got carried away.
Is that right?
You know how you can make a
so
mistake.
it all got a bit political, did it?
Well, it did, but also I think he just kind of was being sort of slightly egged on. You know what Fox News are like?
Yes.
I mean, they're always like trying to get people to say things that fit their agenda.
They are genuinely what you could describe as a right-wing
organisation. You know what I thought we should do? I thought
we
we should invite him to our show in Birmingham.
That's a good idea.
Get him to come over.
Good idea.
We can take him round Birmingham,
and he can pledge his troth to Birmingham.
Yeah, we can, and we can introduce him to the real Birmingham, because we've got this show which there are still some tickets available for, of course, on March the 6th up in Birmingham at the Birmingham Rep. And if you follow at the two mics, you'll be able to find out where to get those tickets.
Now then, shall I read you this piece from the Charlie Sale column in tomorrow morning's paper?
Why?
It's about David Ginola.
Oh, right, okay.
It says rampant self...
He's got the story as well, then.
He says rampant self-publicist, then he names a betting company. Should I name them?
No.
Right, OK. Well, he names the betting company. Will be parading a well-known ex-footballer expected to be David Ginola as their endorsed candidate for the FIFA presidency this morning in partnership with another blatter-bashing pressure group, Change FIFA. The bookmakers claim it is not a stunt, but whether their candidate receives the required 5 nominations from national associations is another matter. So,
well, here's a good text from Toby in Pompey.
Okay.
He texted, of course, on 81089.
Yes.
He says, has Porky thought about running for FIFA president? With his influence and legacy being played out in the FA as we speak, and his endless contacts, surely he would be a perfect candidate.
Well, it has been said. It has. I don't know what you're
Very
laughing
well
at.
put, Tony.
I know you're laughing at. But it's not something that appeals to me. We have work to do in this radio studio, Mike. And talking about work to do in this radio studio, things are about to change.
They are. Next week, we will be together every single night.
We will. Monday
to Thursday.
We will.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 nights a week. There'll be 4 podcasts a week.
That's right.
Because the public have demanded it. Simple as that, really.
Yeah, and we'll be doing it from 2 to 4 a.m. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Absolutely. And the benefit is that although we won't be doing as many hours as we're doing tonight in one night, we will be doing it across 4 nights.
Yeah, there'll be more of it coming out. There'll be 6 hours of podcasts instead of about approximately 4 at the moment.
Well, that's excellent.
So
we enjoy that.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
I'm very much looking forward to it. It is great, Mike, when we get the old rhythm going and we get out there. And I will still be making a guest appearance every Wednesday morning on Mr. Brazil's breakfast show to review the papers.
Yes, of course.
And we're all looking forward to that very much indeed. So that is excellent. That starts from next Tuesday morning.
Yeah, Tuesday
Monday
morning.
night, Tuesday morning.
Yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning. It'll be absolutely fantastic.
Excellent.
Now, here's one from Woodenhead, who's tweeted at Mike Parry.
Woodenhead, what a name.
Mikes. Old MG is ungrateful. Chocolates, Wellington boots, a duck, sausages. What more could anyone ask for? I mean, it's not the greatest haul of presents, is it, really?
I
can't imagine. I mean, what kind of maniac would put all those things down on their Christmas list?
But hang on.
Dear Santa, I've been a very good boy this year.
Yeah.
Could I please have some chocolates, a pair of Wellington boots, a wooden duck, some sausages?
Well, what have I had from you?
Well, I gave you my gift on the Christmas Day show, which was a whole raft of mistakes that I'd made throughout the course of the year, which I thought you would kind of appreciate. Because we always make
what
fun
have you
of
physically given me? I've given you loads of things. You've got wellies, you've got sausages, you've got chocolates, you've now got a duck. And I've got nothing back from you at all.
Well, because you're the man that's got everything. There's nothing I can give you.
Oh, no. I mean,
There's nothing I can give you.
Nothing you even thought about
I know what would
me.
happen if I gave you a present. It would end up in the back of your car, and you'd give it to somebody else.
That's not true
That's
at all.
what you would do. Well, all right, well, tell me what would be the ultimate present for you. What could I buy you that you would that you
something
haven't got?
to show appreciation.
Well, something that you haven't got, though.
Well, maybe
You've got everything.
Maybe a nice case of wine or something like that.
A case of wine?
Yeah. That'd be very nice, thank you.
So you could sit at home and drink it on your own?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Why not?
I'll take you out for lunch. I'd rather do that.
Take me out for lunch.
Because then we could enjoy it together.
Yeah, one here from Rab. He says...
case of wine.
Hi, Porky. Is that an Everton duck? It seems to have blue and white feathers. I would say...
Actually, it is in Everton colours,
I'd say
isn't
it
it?
is, yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
Are you sure this is not from your duck collection?
No, of course not. No.
See, I'm getting very worried about this.
50 Shades of Porky, says Robin Smith. What do you mean by that?
Well, 50 Shades of Grey is that movie about the, the slightly sort of S&M relationship between the guy and the woman.
That's right.
The movie comes out, in fact, I think it's already out.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Right, Mark E.
And it's coming out on Valentine's Day, I'm told.
Tweets in and says, still not seen old MG cooking a duck. I hope when he does, it's not the one you've just given to him at TalkSport. Lots of laughs.
Now,
it's not because it's a wooden duck.
Lots of laughs. Is that what he said?
Yes.
Or does he say LOL?
LOL.
That doesn't mean that means laugh out loud.
Oh, laugh out loud. Okay. Well, I knew it was something like that.
Right,
yeah.
Not lots of laughs.
It says these two wooden actors are the stars of John Lewis 2015 Christmas advert Ceramic. Oh, yeah, of course, the duck.
Ceramic penguin, wasn't it?
The ceramic penguin, that's right. It wasn't a duck, it was a ceramic penguin. That's right, yeah.
No, in fact, it wasn't a ceramic
penguin. And Craig is asking, Craig Virgo, did I win it in a raffle?
Yeah, I read that one out already.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but where would you get a duck in a raffle? I mean, for goodness sake. And I've got this one as well about you.
Maybe it's the booby prize in a meat raffle.
Old MG is ungrateful. Chocolates, Wellington boots, duck and sausages.
I've just read that one out.
I know, and I'm just endorsing it by saying, look, that is the general feeling round here. I'm extremely generous to you. You ain't generous to me at all.
Well, now that I know what you want, maybe you'll get a surprise one day.
Oh, well, maybe I will.
Keith from Camden has texted into 81089. Mind that glass house, Mike. I seem to remember you calling my mate Ricky the Roofer a fickle Spurs fan for leaving a game early against Everton years ago.
Yes,
so
I did,
people remember that.
I
How about this one from Big Robbie in Glasgow? It says, Mike Parry telling Porkies again, Brazil said on the breakfast show when they got back to their hotel they didn't see the penalties as the hotel didn't have BT Sports.
No, he didn't. You're absolutely right. But
you said you saw them.
I've seen them subsequently.
Oh, right.
And I got talked through them. I got on the phone to a person who was watching them.
Oh, yeah.
And they talked me through the whole 17 penalties.
Did you?
Yes, so I was very lucky.
I once was talked through. Do you remember that, was it a World Cup or a Euros?
Yeah.
When I was in America.
Yeah.
It might have been 2005, maybe.
The World Cup what?
When I can't remember. When was the one where David Beckham missed the penalty, put it over the bar?
That wasn't in America.
No, it wasn't in America, no, but I was in America.
That was in Korea.
It was in Korea, yeah. What year was that?
2002.
Was it 2002? Well, I was in Fisher's Island, which is this tiny remote island off the coast of Connecticut.
Yes.
Where there was, like, no television, staying in a house that had no kind of mod cons whatsoever.
Right.
And I was actually
Why was this? Why were you in this hovel?
Well, because a friend of my sister's had a house there, and it's a very wealthy...
a hovel?
No,
Yeah.
well, it wasn't really a hovel. It was a very wealthy island.
Well, there's no electricity on this island.
Well,
this
there's
wealthy
electricity,
island.
but they didn't have a TV.
Good God.
So I couldn't watch the World
place
Cup.
was that? Yeah.
And I was on the phone to somebody back in London who was describing the whole Beckham, run up, and then they put it over the bar, and it was like the people I was staying with couldn't understand why I was in such sort of distraught about the fact that somebody was telling me on the phone that this penalty shootout was going on.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Amazing the way people don't cotton on. Now, we were talking about the garden, right, and the way I've got to get it fixed. And when we do...
So when is there going to be some kind of break in the impasse?
2 months.
Really?
Could be 2 months. 30 days, apparently, consultation, and then 30 days
shakedown. So who's
down.
consulting? So are you going to have to go and give a statement to somebody as to what you want to do?
No, that's all known. And it's not even what I want to do. It's what the contractor said needed doing to secure the roof garden, make it waterproof again, because, it was...
So what's underneath the roof garden? Somebody else's flat?
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, so are they getting a wet?
No. It's perfectly sealed. Dry wise, there's no water getting through. What's happened is that over the last couple of years, water's got trapped between the first and second layers of asphalt.
Yeah, but eventually that will seep down and into the ceiling.
Well, asphalt is waterproof. It doesn't. But what it means is, when I'm walking across it, it's like walking across a waterbed. You see what I mean? And that's got to be drained out.
Yeah.
And that means you've got to pull the asphalt up and get rid of it, and then put it back down, then put some new tiles down, because the tiles are, because
and
they
then you have to seal them all with grout and everything.
Well, that's right. Because the water had got in the asphalt, they'd lifted the tiles, so the tiles are up now and loose, and they've got to be replaced. So it's a bit complicated and all that, and it's a damn nuisance. However, out of all bad things come good things.
Yes.
In every cloud there can be a silver lining.
It's good to be positive, yeah.
Yes. And what I've decided, because I've had a good look at the garden now and the agricultural content of it, if you see what I mean. Well, the plants. That's
the
what
plants.
I mean. Yeah, exactly.
How do you get out and feed them now that you can't go out there then?
What?
How do you get out and feed the plants now that you can't get out?
They don't need feeding at this time of the year.
Don't they?
No, they're dead. Well, they are.
Well, if they're dead, you might as well throw them away then.
No, because my housekeeper looks after all that, and she plants things that'll now bloom in the spring.
Oh, right.
Like
so they're not
spring
annuals
bulbs.
then?
Well, I don't know. But they go into flower again as soon as the weather turns. But
so they're not dead then? They're just resting?
Yeah, that's probably a bit right. They've been cut back, I think,
Okay.
So, anyway, I have now decided, because, for ages now I've wanted a dog, like a Labrador, but I can't have one.
I said you should get a dog. Because
you can't have one in a penthouse. It's too cruel, particularly going out every day. I mean,
a small dog.
I'd be coming out to see you, leaving the dog there overnight. And imagine if there was a storm.
Well, you bring him in here.
Imagine if it was no, I couldn't do that. Imagine if it was a storm or something, it wouldn't be right.
Yeah.
And also, dog might wreck my car coming in and out. Don't want it to tear up the car.
You get a carrying case for the dog.
No, it's too complicated.
Just sit next to the passenger seat.
Yes, you can. I had a girlfriend I told you about who had that black Labrador.
Yeah.
His name
was.
was.
Used to sit in the passenger seat.
Used to sit in the passenger seat.
Where did you sit? In the back.
Yeah, I'd sit in the back. Yeah,
the dog's in the front. You're in the back.
Dog was in the front with a seatbelt on in the passenger seat. Yeah. His name was Hector, and she was driving, and I was sitting in the back.
Right.
But I used to sort
How
of.
do you get the seatbelt on?
Well, you put it on the same way as you'd put it on a human being. But I used to sort of sit behind the dog and hold the dog to make sure it didn't go through the windscreen or something like that. You know what I mean?
Like hold it round the neck?
Well, no. Just hold it round the shoulders, so to speak. You know what I mean? and make sure it was all right.
But anyway, look, that's in the highway code.
We haven't got to the point of the story.
Yeah, what is the point of the story? We'll get to the point of the story.
Right, I can't have a dog because I can't look after it. No. I can't have a cat because I don't like cats, and they're sly and scheming.
Why don't you get a pet rat
and rather
I'll bring one up from Sussex for you?
And rather, rather underhanded. So,
the evil cat that runs the world.
Yeah. So I need an animal that won't tax me pace-wise because I'm going to chase it round the roof garden.
Right.
So I'm getting a tortoise. What are you laughing at? I'm getting a tortoise. And,
why?
Well, because I want a tortoise, and I'm going to.
Tortoises are terrible pets.
No, they're not. They're great, and they don't move very fast. So
I had a tortoise once as a child. It ran away.
Well,
we kept it in the garden.
Can't run away.
It ran away. We kept it in the garden.
Are you mad?
We had a little pen for it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to get. That's what I'm going to get.
We found it in the garden.
I'm going to get a little tortoise house and put it on the roof garden.
They like to wander, though, tortoises.
I know they do. Well, he can wander around. That's all right. Because think about it, my roof garden, which is about the size...
The workmen will probably step on it.
It's about the size of this studio, right?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That is a big area.
Time, by the way.
Yeah, I'm telling you about my tortoise. That is a big area for a tortoise to wander around.
And
by the time it's got
from?
to the other side of the garden, it'll think it's on the other side of the world, and it'll turn around and come back again.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that, because you said, imagine if everything in the world was twice its size or something like that earlier
Absolutely, because the pond expanded to twice its size.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. It's called flooding. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Of course, as we were telling you in the last hour, coming up next week, there's going to be more of the two mics. There's going to be 4 podcasts a week. It's going to be very, very exciting. Now, I just want to read a couple of these out to you as well.
Okay.
My name is Duncan from Glasgow, he says on the text, 81089. He says, I love listening to Mike Porky Parry. He is superb.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed.
And Rob says, is Porcupine the only pet that's slower than him?
That's a bit harsh.
Well, I suppose there is something to that, though, because you said you don't want to chase it around all over the place, do you?
Well, it's not because I'm incapable of... Mark Dealey here says, a tortoise, ha, 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 that's brilliant. No, a tortoise is a very real pet. It needs looking after, very affectionate, all that kind of stuff. I mean, when I say I don't want to be chasing around after a tortoise, what I mean is... You would need incredible concentration and energy to contain a dog in my apartment because it's a penthouse and he's got no fields to run around in and all that kind of stuff. It'd be
you're supposed to take it out for a walk.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. But you don't take tortoises for a walk.
No, you don't.
What I do is...
But, they're quite sort of deceptively fast, tortoises. I mean, they do like to roam around. Yeah, well, they're not meant to be caged in a small area.
Oh, they won't be caged. It won't be caged.
Well, it will be. It'll be in your roof garden, which you said is the same size as the studio.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, that's not big enough for a tortoise.
It is. There's loads of plants.
What are you going to feed it, by the way?
Eh?
What are you going to feed it?
Feed it on lettuce.
Lettuce?
Yes, lettuce.
Any particular kind?
No, iceberg lettuce or something like that. Lettuce. I don't know, or cabbage and that sort of stuff.
Right.
Got plenty of cabbage.
And that'll be for your Green Day shopping, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. And I will put some false turf down so it feels like it's on grass, even though it's not.
What, you mean like AstroTurf?
AstroTurf. Yeah, I'll put some
AstroTurf down. You can't put AstroTurf down.
Yes,
It'll
you can.
Start eating it and die.
No, it won't.
Yeah, well, it'll eat the plastic blades of grass and die.
No, it won't. It won't. I'll take advice on that from an expert to make sure that's the case.
Well, we should get you a tortoise expert for next week.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. Well, I'll put some real turf down then. I don't mind. I'll buy
I think
some.
that would be better.
I'll go and buy some and put it down for a little area for it to sort of move around in and that kind of stuff. But which I think is a great because I couldn't think of anything else. I thought about
where are you going to get a tortoise from anyway?
Well, a tortoise shop. What do you mean?
A tortoise shop?
Yeah, well, a pet shop.
When was the last time you saw a tortoise shop?
Well,
I don't know if you can buy them in pet shops, Of
course
it might
you
be
can.
like protected species or something.
No.
Why don't you get some terrapins instead?
Oh, because they have to go in water.
Well, yeah, like in a fish tank.
Yeah,
but that's easier to kind of.
You've got to put oxygen in the tank and clean it and all that kind of stuff, and it's not.
I don't think this is a good idea at all.
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
What if it climbs off the balcony and falls into the?
It can't. It
plunges to its death.
No, it can't. It can't. There's a brick wall around the,
I'll tell you what,
first
we had,
foot of the balcony.
The tortoise that we had, right?
Yeah.
Which we found in our garden. We decided we found these kind of planks of wood and we made like a pen for it,
right?
And a little house, a little shelter.
Yeah,
and all
that's
that.
what I'm going to do.
But it managed to climb out of the pen,
right?
And the planks were not particularly high, maybe 6 or 7 inches. But it managed to climb out of them and escape. It escaped. We lost the tortoise.
Which part of the world was this? Was this in Hampstead?
North London, yeah.
In North London?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a very urban area. So where did it escape to?
Well, I mean, Hampstead's actually a very green area if you've ever been there, which you have. So you know that.
Yeah, well, bits
Hampstead
of it
Heath. Well, Hampstead Heath is a massive area of hundreds of acres.
In fact, isn't it on Hampstead Heath or the edge of that there's a dispute going on between, is it Robert Plant?
We talked about this in the last hour.
Jimmy
Don't tell me you've forgotten about it as well.
No, I haven't.
No, that's Holland Park.
Is that where they're having the row?
Okay, right.
Okay,
well, that's where they live.
Right, let's forget that. Yeah.
Your memory is actually getting worse.
No, it's not. No,
it really is. Funnily enough, I want to talk to you about memory because I was reading a piece today, which I haven't got in front of me, that said, and there's 2 things I want to bring up here. It says that over-indulgence of alcohol makes your brain age more soon than it should, which obviously affects your memory.
I can believe that.
What did you make of Ben's headline, which says that so many people have now already just given up on going dry in January because they can't find themselves actually enjoying socialising without having a drink?
Well, I
immediately thought of you.
No, I totally accept that. I've never gone on this dry in January business.
No, I know you haven't.
No,
you can't socialise without having a drink, can you?
No.
I mean, for example, I went out for dinner tonight, albeit with my kids.
Yes.
But I didn't have a drink.
No, well, I could do that if it was with some kids or something. Of course I could. But in the general... Can you imagine, in the general course of conversation, going out with... Al, Mr. Brazil.
Well, I can't imagine going to Mr. Brazil
and a couple of colleagues and decided not to have a drink. It just wouldn't fit into the way our brains work, to be honest, and it'd be a bit silly.
So you've never ever done a dry January then?
No, I haven't, but I have done dry
Well, you
drinking.
must have. Yeah, you must have not been drinking when you were ill, presumably. You weren't allowed
Oh,
to
I
drink
did.
then.
I didn't drink for like 7 months then, but that didn't go through January. Actually, funny enough, that went from about
that's not really the
April
point.
till about December or something. Yeah. But funny enough, I have done a couple of dry sessions with Al.
Have you?
When he hasn't felt very well, and,
Really?
he's been on penicillin, and he's drunk nothing but fizzy water. And
I can't imagine that.
That was when we were down on Orwell Quay in Ipswich one time, and he wasn't well. So he's quite happy to do it if it's necessary, but. Obviously, for the bon vivant side of things, we prefer to be able to ingest a little alcohol. Yeah. It's quite simple as that.
Another correction coming up for your sporting history knowledge. Ben says, Beckham missed that penalty in Lisbon in the 2004 European Championships. Parry, you clueless buffoon.
No, he scored one against Argentina in 2002, right, in South Korea.
And I'm talking about the one that went over the bar.
Oh, no, that's not the one I'm talking about.
Well, I said that he missed the penalty. It went over the bar.
Oh, no, I thought you said he scored the penalty.
No.
Sorry. And I've got a shirt from the one in 2002.
Oh, have you?
Signed, yeah. Yeah, I've got the Beckham
from
shirt
David
signed.
Beckham. Where is that then, at the moment?
That's on my wall in my place in Gosport.
Oh, is it? Very nice.
Alongside a shirt from Sven Göran Eriksson, who, when he found out I was in hospital, sent me an England shirt saying, "Get well soon, Mike. Very best wishes,
Why didn't you
Sven."
start your Wayne Rooney book with that then, instead of the Wayne Rooney shirt?
Well, because the book was about Wayne Rooney. It wasn't about Sven
No, it wasn't about
Eriksson.
Wayne Rooney, was it?
Okay?
It was about you.
No, it wasn't. It
about
wasn't.
how Wayne Rooney saved your life.
Yeah.
Listen to this from Captain Jam Tart. Do you know what the Jam Tarts are? You must know the Jam Tarts.
Yeah, that's Hearts, the
Hearts of
football club.
Midlothian, yes.
Yep.
Porky's going to be like a Welsh Scouse Dr. Dolittle with all these animals and plastic ducks. I feel sorry for the tortoise already.
Well, what else animal could I have? I thought about a guinea pig.
You could have a guinea pig.
But you keep that inside, don't you?
You do, yeah.
And I don't
Well,
think...
you can keep it outside, but I mean, I might get eaten by a fox.
Yes, exactly.
Especially those foxes round you that climb up ladders.
Well, I did see a fox going up a ladder, but you wouldn't get a fox up in my penthouse, believe me. But I think it'd be cruel to keep a guinea pig because they live in cages, and I don't like that.
No.
But
I mean, for a tortoise,
an animal to roam around.
For a tortoise to be in an enclosed space is for them like a cage because they're normally used to kind of just wandering.
Yeah, but it's not very enclosed, honestly.
Roaming. They're not
in fact, I tell you what,
animals.
I might have a word with my neighbour next door. She's a lovely lady, and just knock a hole in the wall to allow my tortoise to go into her garden.
I think at the moment you're probably best not to be knocking at any neighbours' doors because
true.
they've clearly launched some kind of collective class action suit against you.
Well,
for trying to put scaffolding up without asking anybody's permission.
Yeah, well, I didn't put it up, did I? But it is a damn nuisance. They've got to come and take it down again now. I mean, I just.
Hey, here's something for you.
Ridiculous.
Somebody has sent us a Twitter address at the Tortoise Shop.
Oh, great! Where is it?
Well, I don't know. I'll look it up for you.
So there is a tortoise shop.
Well,
your ribald laughter, when I announced I was.
Well, no, there is a virtual tortoise shop, which doesn't mean there's an actual shop that's called the Tortoise Shop.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, there's one on Twitter. Doesn't mean it exists.
It must exist if it's there. It must exist.
Well, we'll look it up and we'll find out. Well, why don't you look it up? See if you can find the address.
I don't think I'd be able to, actually.
Well, all you've got to do is put in at the Tortoise Shop into your Twitter, right, into the search engine.
Yeah, I'm not sure about
You don't know how to do that. Here's one from Ross in Walsall. He says, Mike, I'm 25 years old. I work 56 hours a week and live alone in an apartment in Walsall.
Right.
I have a tortoise. It's a great pet. Hardly needs any looking after.
Well, there you go.
I made an enclosure in my spare room, and I also let him roam around when I'm home.
There you go.
feed it mixed sale, he says. I presume he means salad. From Tesco. I bought mine from a garden centre for 80 quid.
Well, there you go.
Bargain.
There you go. That seems perfect.
When was the last
time
time you saw it, would be my question.
Last saw what? Last time
you saw the tortoise.
Our correspondent saw his tortoise.
Yeah, Ross, his name is.
Well, it's in his apartment, rows down in his apartment. I tell you what, you have to be careful not to step on it, wouldn't you?
Well, you would.
You would, definitely.
Especially if it's just roaming around and you get out of bed or something in the middle of the night.
I'd keep it outside because they like a bit of rain on the shell and all that kind of stuff.
Do they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I'm going to find this tortoise shop and
In fact,
find
I'll tell you what I'd do. I'll tell you what I'd do to make sure I didn't step on it. I would paint its shell a very bright and vivid sort of yellow colour. So then you wouldn't be able to step on it. You see what I mean?
You can't paint a tortoise's shell.
Of course you can.
Because they used to do that in Blue Peter, do you remember?
Yeah.
And they were roundly castigated for it because
Why?
actually it's toxic. Well, if you use paint on a tortoise's shell, which is effectively its skin, it's toxic for the tortoise.
Yeah, I can see that because
you can't paint it yellow.
That was the we can put a little yellow spot on it, can't you, to make sure you don't.
Well, that would mean you would
step
see it in the middle of the night, would you?
Eh?
Unless you use luminous paint.
Well, yeah, you could use luminous paint, couldn't you, to make sure you didn't step on it?
Why don't you just tie a light bulb to it? So every time it walks
You're
around,
being ridiculous.
you
being
could
ridiculous.
have a light on top of it.
Did you know that the the plot of Goldfinger when the lady was painted gold and she was dead. She died of that. They covered her skin all over in gold paint, and if you do that, you literally suffocate somebody because their skin can't breathe.
It's only a film, though.
No, but it works in real life.
Does it?
If you fell into...
when was the last time somebody was painted gold in real life?
Well, you know what I'm talking about. I'm saying that condition would work. If you fell into a vat of paint and came out, you'd probably die because your skin can't breathe.
The white Dulux paint you're thinking of?
Yeah, well, actually, any sort of paint. I mean, it doesn't matter what colour it is it? What are you laughing at? Huh? Why?
They've just said, never mind drowning in it.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't drown, would you?
I think your pores being covered would be at least your problem if you fell into a great big vat of paint.
Maybe it would. Look, here's a warning from Chad Smith, because it's always good to hear from the listeners. And it says, Mike, don't let MG stitch you up tonight in the Two Mikes quiz. We all know you're a conduit of great knowledge. That's excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed.
I'm predicting 3 out of 10.
What?
I'm predicting 3 out of 10 on the tomato quiz.
Well, I'm not. I'm telling you. Right, here we go. Richard Pearson says, I have a tortoise. Great choice, Mike. Wonderful pet to have. And he's got a picture. Send a picture in. Let's have a look. Look. There's his tortoise. See?
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Let's have a look. Oh, very nice. How do you know it's his tortoise? Give me any tortoise, couldn't it?
Well,
please note it hasn't been painted.
Whose tortoise do you think it will be?
Well, he might have taken a picture off the internet.
No, I don't think so.
All right, we're going to look up the shop and maybe we'll get in touch with them.
Yeah, good idea.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. We've got loads more coming up. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is, of course, Mike Parry. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. There seems to be a bit of a debate going on about tortoises and whether you can actually buy them.
You can.
From Hounslow says, is it legal to buy tortoises? I thought they were an endangered species.
No.
Gordon in Wigan says, tortoises were banned, he says, as an engaged species. I think he means as an endangered species, 10 years ago.
Well, listen, our very able producer, David, has found the Tortoise Centre, right?
Yeah. Where's that?
Captive bred tortoise specialists. It's in Essex, I believe.
Right.
I believe it's in
Because
Essex.
I found it at the Tortoise shop as well, which isn't actually a shop at all.
Yeah.
We are a small company with a big love for tortoises and all their needs.
Yeah. Well, listen, this is an excellent...
I guess it must be legal.
This is an excellent place, because it says here, our range of tortoises for sale are shown below. Should you have any questions about any tortoises, contact us. Free help and advice to everyone. Our tortoises are fed on a mixture of fresh food and Komodo tortoise food.
Komodo tortoise food? Is that like a Komodo dragon?
Well, I don't know.
With a K? Is it with a K?
Yeah, K. Komodo.
Well, you know about the Komodo dragon, don't you?
No.
Komodo dragon is like a massive big lizard.
Yeah, it starred in one of the Bond films, didn't it? Didn't it come out of a pit and drag a man back in with it? No, it did.
There isn't just one of them.
No, it did. Yeah, that's what I mean. But it was. I'm sure it was a Komodo dragon.
Well, there might have been, yeah.
They threw him into a pit.
It's a bit like a Tasmanian
dragons.
devil.
Oh, really?
Actually, no, it's not. No, Tasmanian devil's more of a mammal, I think.
Is it? Anyway, listen, it says here you can buy all these tortoises. For instance, a UK captive-bred baby Herman's tortoise for sale. Hatched 2014, microchipped, okay? Microchipped.
Why would you microchip a tortoise?
So you could find your tortoise. I think human beings should be microchipped.
Yeah,
I think human beings should be microchipped because if you've got somebody who's out on parole for a crime or is, given one of those bracelets around his leg and all that, just microchip people.
Yeah, but the microchip doesn't mean you can actually follow where they go.
Of course you can.
All it means is you can identify them when you capture them.
No, you can have the microchip responding to a satellite in the sky.
Well, how many satellites would you need if you microchipped everybody?
Not many. How many satellites do you need for millions of phone calls a day? Not many. Not many.
Millions of phone calls. But if you had to follow everybody around and all the tortoises and all the other creatures.
Yeah, not everybody, just a few who were like risk to society. Here's another one: the spur-thighed tortoise. Captive bred 1-year-old spur-thighed tortoises for sale. Microchipped, £120, right? And then the Horsefield tortoise. Captive bred 1-year-old Horsefield tortoises for sale, £99. Horsefield tortoises are a very friendly and hardy breed of tortoise.
I thought you were an animal lover.
Yeah, I am.
Well, you surely don't want something that's been bred in captivity.
Well, yeah, but if it's bred in captivity, it doesn't know it's captive, does it?
Well, what about Tommy the chimp? He doesn't know he's in captive either.
Of course he does.
How does he know?
Because all his natural genes and instincts tell him that he should have been out in a jungle.
Well, how's he any different from a tortoise? Well, tortoise's natural habitat isn't, the top of a roof in Epsom, is it?
But tortoise, to a tortoise, the world can be a field that it's in. And if I put it in a simulated field, like a roof garden, that's fine.
Well, it's not a simulated field, is it? It's made of concrete.
Hey?
It's made of concrete. It's not a simulated field.
Well, no, I've told you I'm going to put some grass in, aren't I, to try and make it right. So, pretty pleased about all this, to be honest. Pretty pleased.
Here's a guy who sent in a picture of himself with his tortoise clambering over his shoulder.
Oh, blimey, yeah, who's that?
That is Richard.
Oh, well done, Richard. Now then, the Sulcata tortoise. Captive bred baby sulcata tortoise, £149. And finally, the marginated tortoise, which has got a lovely coloured shell, by the way, sort of blue and white.
Blue and white?
Yeah.
You sure somebody hasn't painted it?
No,
you should get that one. It's an Everton tortoise, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good idea. £120, okay? So they are perfectly legal and for sale, and to my mind, that means it could well be a goer.
So you're going to be getting a tortoise, are you?
Well, I'm going to think about it very carefully.
I don't think this in any way fits with your image as a sort of animal lover at all. James says this: will Porky's tortoise be as slow as his book sales? That's rather good, isn't it?
Well, he said what?
Will your tortoise be as slow as your book sales? Very good.
So funny.
And here's one from Steve. Why doesn't Porky adopt a snow leopard or a donkey for £3 a month, like they say on you should do on the TV?
Well, I'm getting a bit wary of charities, to be honest. I prefer to support local charities, so I support a horse place in Guildford now, whereas I used to support, I'd feel very sorry for these donkeys which are worked to death in the Far East, Middle East or something like that. But I never know where the money's going these days.
No, you don't.
You read incredible stories of people getting paid vast amounts of money to run charities.
I know.
And
also, I mean, it's a very
70% of the money goes on administration and all this kind of stuff.
It's a very easy racket to run, isn't it? I'm not suggesting that that's what they're doing, but I mean, my sister was the sponsor of a wolf somewhere up in the Canadian hinterlands, right? And she kept getting these, letters
pictures
from the...
and all that,
here's a picture of your wolf. And I'm like, how do you know it's that? How do you know that's your wolf?
Oh, no, I totally agree.
I mean, it could be any wolf.
I sponsored...
Can you go visit the wolf? You can't go visit the wolf, can you?
No, you can't visit a wolf. I sponsored a dog once in a dog home, the charity shows the advert, we never put a healthy animal down, and all that kind of stuff, and it was called something else in those days. And I went to see it, and it lived in miserable conditions. This kennel it lived in, there were hundreds of dogs there, and all you heard was the yapping, screaming noises of dogs howling.
Very horrible, isn't it?
Took one out for a walk. You could only take it out for a quarter of an hour, and to be perfectly honest, the farmyard in which it lived was pretty filthy, And I don't mean filthy in the terms that the dogs were under threat, but I mean just mud underfoot and all that kind of stuff, So I'm a little bit reluctant to get involved in those things these days, and would like to take a more personal role in acquiring a pet and looking after it, rather than sort of doing it en masse.
Trying to save the life of one that's already in existence. But the thing is, if you buy a tortoise which has been bred in captivity, what you're effectively doing is encouraging people to breed tortoises in captivity to sell to people, which surely isn't right.
Well,
I can't imagine how you can, juxtapose that with your position on Tommy the Chimp. I just don't see it.
Well, it's something that needs thinking about. But if I thought I could... I mean, listen, you're giving the tortoise a better life by taking it out of the tortoise centre where it lives presumably in a little
maybe it likes
pen.
being with the other tortoises.
In a little... Well, I don't... I only like... If you look... Imagine a shop window now, a pet shop window. So in a few couple of tortoises there, they live in a very, very small and enclosed arena.
Do they mate for life, creatures? Tortoises?
I don't know. I've no idea.
Here's an idea from Craig. He says, why doesn't Porky buy a parrot instead? Because you could have a friend and then you have someone to talk to.
I've thought about that. And there's a pub I occasionally go to. In fact, actually, it's the pub where the meat raffle takes place. Where I won all my meat. And the fellow goes in there with a...
You're going to have to stop going in there, or else you're going to end up winning meat every week.
Absolutely.
I mean, does anybody else actually enter this meat raffle?
Well,
how come you win twice in a row?
I don't know. The guy said I was very lucky. My name was up on the board, as second prize.
How proud you must be.
Yeah, I was quite proud. But there's a chap in there who used to go in there in I haven't seen him there lately, a long black leather coat and a green parrot sitting on his shoulder. And,
is he a pirate?
No, of course not.
He's got a wooden leg.
No, but it became a right local novelty. And as I say, I haven't seen him for a while. But you can domesticate parrots. The thing is, we've got loads of parrots in this country now flying around wild, haven't we? They got imported.
Well, mostly parakeets, a lot of them.
Parakeets, that's it. Yeah, parakeets.
Well, originally they all came out of Kew Gardens, didn't they?
Was that it?
I saw them once. I was driving back from the airport from
Heathrow,
having taken somebody to drop them off.
Right.
And I was coming on Westway, and suddenly there was this massive sort of explosion of colour. And out of the corner of my eye, and I looked up, and there were these beautiful green birds, and a whole flock of about 30 of them, just flying across in front of the car.
That's what they do.
And they were all parakeets.
That's what they do.
And they can't do anything about it now.
Can't do anything about it at all. And they breed very, very fast as well, so there's loads of them around. So that is going to be a problem.
William, now here's another suggestion for you. William says, I wonder if Porky will have a beehive on his roof garden when it's finished.
No, I won't. No, I'm frightened of bees. The beehive... situation regarding my sister and the Christmas present and all that didn't turn out to be as successful as I thought it would be, and me personally, I just can't get it about people dealing with bees, Bees sting you.
Yeah, but you're the one that we're going to give the present to your sister.
Yeah, well, she's more adroit at dealing with bees than I am, so she'd have appreciated it.
Yeah. There's loads of pictures of tortoises coming through, all kinds of different colours and hues.
Yeah,
here's a good
great.
one from Ian in Folkestone. He says, "Hi, Mike and Mike. I bought some tortoise skin shoes. It took me 6 hours to get out of the shoe shop."
Oh,
that's quite funny.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny as well. People making jokes, but no, you wouldn't want to do that, obviously, would you?
Yeah.
Now
coming up, we wouldn't
want to get into anything in the way of cruelty.
We've got Steve Emerson coming up very shortly. Now, I don't know whether you remember when we spoke to him last week. We had this terrible atrocity committed in Paris.
Yes.
And at the time, the guys who'd done the shooting at the Charlie Hebdo headquarters hadn't actually been caught. But of course, we now know what happened over the weekend. Terrible business.
Yeah.
But Steve. The thing that I found amazing was that when he appeared on Fox News over the weekend, and I mean, you know what Fox News is like. It's very sort of rabid. It's very kind of right wing and very what you might say gung ho, if you like, about the American foreign policy and all that kind of thing. Now he appeared on it because he is a leading authority on Islamic extremist organisations. He works as the executive director of the Investigation Project on Terrorism, right? And the thing that amazed me was that when I saw the story about what this guy had said, I didn't actually put two and two together that he was the same guy that we'd spoken to.
Oh, I see.
But it was.
Yeah.
And people were making fun of him throughout the whole course of the last few days.
Yes.
You know, there was a Twitter hashtag called Fox News Facts, and because he'd basically come out and said that there's lots of parts of Europe that are kind of no-go areas and they're, dangerous places to go if you don't happen to be a Muslim. So he's agreed to come back on, and so we're going to try and get out of him.
Excellent.
What made him say that?
Yeah.
You know, because you know Birmingham very well. You worked there for many years with the Birmingham Mail.
I did.
And you do wonder whether he was kind of goaded into it in some way by Fox News, because he's now made a donation to one of the local hospitals in Birmingham by way of an apology. He's decided to give them £500, I think, by way of a sort of making reparations.
I see.
And as I said, I think what we should do the decent thing and invite him over for the to come and see the show in Birmingham on March the 6th.
The show on March the 6th, and tickets still available for that one, by the way. Amazingly, because it's the quietest time of the year for selling theatre tickets.
Is it?
Tickets have been selling with great frequency throughout January, when they don't normally expect to sell tickets.
But it's quite a big theatre, much bigger than Hen and Chickens.
Oh, it is. Hen and Chickens is a great theatre.
A lot of people are asking about another London show, by the way. Have you made any strides towards that?
We're thinking about that, but there is a contradiction between those who've bought what they think is going to be our next show, which is in Birmingham. We'll be travelling from London, and us then putting on a show in London in between. They may feel that they've been somewhat deceived.
Oh, I see.
And
well, I don't think so.
Well, it's just that we made such a big store now going to Birmingham. People are coming from all over the place to go to Birmingham to the big show.
Okay.
And I don't know whether we've, got a way of putting on a show before they're in London, which might seem a little unfair. I mean, if somebody's already booked for Birmingham and going up there, will they want to come and see us in the show in between?
Well, they might do.
They might do. In fact, I would recommend that they do, because...
Well, they can't if you don't do another show.
Well, they can't, no. But, I mean, these are all the things you've got to think about, Mike, when you are a showbiz entrepreneur.
Is that what you are now?
Well, I have friends in the business.
Time, by the way.
I have friends in the business who are called, what are they called?
Friends in the business?
No, people who put on shows all the time.
Lovies?
No, not lovies. Don't be so insulting.
Thespians?
The thespians are the actors in the shows, but they are called... What's
Impresarios.
Impresarios, that's the one. Theatre impresarios. And in fact, I know the man who is the biggest theatre impresario in the world. Happens to be the chairman of Everton Football Club as well. And so... Can
you stop talking for a minute?
No. And so I believe I know a little bit about the politics of it. You see what I mean?
Okay.
I work closely with these people.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Coming up next, Steve Emerson is going to be joining us to explain exactly what happened over the weekend with his comments about Birmingham.
Excellent.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. You know what to do. You can text us on 81089. You can email via the website talksport.com and follow us on Twitter at the two Mikes, at IROMG and at Mike Parry 8. Now, we're going to speak next to Steve Emerson, a man who has been leading news bulletins. He's been leading all sorts of news reports, newspaper articles for the last few days. Now, when this first broke, this story, after Steve's interview with Fox News, I didn't actually put two and two together. It was the same guy we spoke to this time last week.
That's right.
Slightly earlier than this, actually, after that terrible event in Paris with the Charlie Hebdo killings. But Steve has very graciously agreed to come back on to try and explain to us exactly how it all kind of happened. Steve, a very good morning and welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. You properly introduced me as having a bad week, but I deserved it. I made the worst mistake in my life, and appropriately, I apologize to the residents of Birmingham, and there was issued an apology on my website, Facebook page, tweet, and everything else. Made a contribution of about $800 to the Birmingham Children's Hospital and several other Birmingham charities. But bottom line is I alone was responsible, acknowledged it, and even though I had a rough time with some BBC interviewers who were pretty self-righteous about the fact
Well, they are very self-righteous, the BBC, I have to tell you, Steve. And I've got some sympathy for you. I'll tell you why. I'm sitting next to my broadcasting partner here, Mr. Mike Parry, who's famously made all sorts of blunders in his journalistic past. And, you know, in a way...
That's a very sweeping statement.
I mean, you
justify it.
And in a way, I have sympathy for you for two reasons. One, you were on Fox News, and I think, you know, when you're on Fox News, it's a bit easy to get carried away with the kind of, you know, the general atmosphere of the place and the way that they want you to talk and the way that they want to hear things that are going to frighten people, really. And secondly, actually, unwittingly, I think you brought a bit of levity to what was a very kind of dark story. And you know, it resulted in Twitter people making jokes about Fox News facts and sending out some very amusing sort of observations about things that they imagined you might also get wrong. So in a way, you know, lessons have been learned and all of that. But actually, it's not the worst thing in the world, is it?
Well, look, I have to tell you that you know, I pride myself in being right, and I was wrong, and totally wrong. I mean, off base in a way that I've never been, you know. And the bad guys, the bad guys being the Islamists and the front groups of the Muslim Brotherhood and all these people who decry the notion that radical Islam exists and it's just Islamophobia that's the problem and that there's no such thing as Islamic terrorism. They've been waiting to pounce on me for 19 years. And now they got their ability to pounce on me, and I can't excuse myself. I'll tell you that, and I can't say that if I don't work for Fox, and I can't say that Fox prodded me into saying it. Bottom line, however, is that I did a lot of interviews with the BBC, and their self-righteousness was, I mean, look, I'm not going to make excuses for myself, but I got into one argument, and we're going to put it online in the next couple of days, where the presenter said, well, Steve, why should we believe anything you've ever said in the future, in the past and in the future, now that you made this mistake? So I said, well, I can't predict what people will believe, but why should I believe anything that you say or the BBC says if presuming you guys have made mistakes, and I presume you have? And he at that point said, well, we've never made mistakes like you have. I said, I find that hard to believe. And we got into a little bit of a piss match. And the reality is that, everybody makes mistakes. I'm not going to excuse what I said, and I don't even want to use that line, everybody makes mistakes, because that sounds like I'm somewhat excusing myself. I'm not going to do that, because there is no excuse. Look, I have to be true to myself, and the fact is, there is no excuse. So I'm not going to make any mitigating circumstance here.
Steve, let me just get in here, please, because I understand what you're saying there. But to be perfectly honest, they were right, the BBC, to say, how can we now accept your credibility as you describe yourself as an expert on Islamic terrorist networks, OK? Extremist networks. But you can't sit there then and tell a television audience a completely erroneous fact that Birmingham in England is a totally Muslim city.
Well, he just made a mistake.
No, I'm sorry. What I'm saying is we are all looking at this now and thinking, how can a man who's supposed to be an expert on this issue be so fundamentally wrong? It's like a sports expert telling us that Team A has won the league when Team B has actually won it. It was fundamentally very badly wrong, and that must question your credibility.
Listen, you're right that a mistake was made, but if I made all I can say is this: look, I can't predict how people are going to perceive me, but I can only tell you this. People do make mistakes. Last week, CNN had a headline saying, Hezbollah denounces Islamic terrorist attackers at Charlie Hebdo. They never did, okay? The BBC reporter last week made an outrageous comment that the Jews are responsible for the attacks or somehow responsible for provoking the attacks in Paris or something to that effect. I mean, these comments, look, I'm not making an excuse for myself. And I'm not saying that I shouldn't be held accountable, but I am saying that the reality is that mistakes are made, and people do acknowledge them. I wasn't forced to make an acknowledgement.
Let me just ask you a question. I don't think anybody's asked you this question. How did it come to pass that you actually thought that? Because presumably
I relied on unvetted research by research. I have a team of researchers, okay, and I have an organization, a nonprofit. I'm not wealthy. I have a nonprofit. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've worked with the FBI, and people have relied on me. I have a good track record, okay? Right. It's because I'm careful. Yeah. I wasn't careful in vetting this.
You should know where the terrorist hotspots in the world are and where Muslim enclaves have grown up across the world. Birmingham's not one of them. If you've been doing it for 20 years, you've been walking around with your eyes closed. You've been walking around with your eyes closed.
No, it's not a matter of doing it with your eyes closed because, look, I don't know every single city in the world. I'm not going to pretend. And by the way, I don't put myself as an expert. People flaunt me as an expert. I've always said there's no such thing as a terrorism expert. People ask me when I go on television, they say, how do you want to describe yourself? I say, as a terrorism investigator. Yeah. And they say, well, no, we won't put that in expert. No, I say, no, there's no such thing as a terrorism expert. I'm a terrorism investigator. I was an investigative journalist for 15 years. Okay, and that's basically what I do now in the constructs of a nonprofit. I just investigate. Okay, so the bottom line is I'm not pretending that I know everything in the world. Right. And then those people that do, I can tell you every single quote terrorism expert that you know that is in the headlines, that's on television. I can point to mistake after mistake after mistake, but there's no accountability whatsoever. Nicholas Kristof in the New York Times, a big major columnist that you probably heard of, he had the self-righteous column making a dig at me and everybody else and saying that they don't know what they're talking about. They're attacking all Muslims. Here's a guy that defended Sami al-Arian. He was convicted of being the head of Islamic Jihad, one of the most murderous Islamic terrorist group in the world, and he called him a man of peace and justice. Now, that didn't disqualify him from being 20 more years as a columnist for the New York Times, did it?
Well, it didn't. But also the New York Times has also famously employed people who said they were going out on stories and sending expenses in, but they didn't actually leave the office.
Exactly. So,
and
all sorts of things.
Like I say, I mean,
that guy was bending the situation. He was bending the truth.
I'm much more on Steve's side here because I think people have jumped all over him. Well, tell me, what's happened, Steve, to the person that supplied you with that information? Are they still working for you?
Listen... Let's just say their tenure has been abruptly cut short.
Right.
But
you haven't no choice, really.
Look, it was my fault.
It was. Your judgment was all over the place.
Now, let me ask you this as well. David Cameron's in Washington at the moment, as you're probably aware, to see Barack Obama. Now, this guy has actually said that you are clearly a complete idiot. That's his quote. I think you should go and make some kind of representation to Mr. Cameron's entourage and say that you don't really like being called a complete idia because he hasn't really got the right to say that.
Here's a guy that himself employed some people a couple of years ago that he shouldn't have been employing.
Well, certainly.
Okay, I mean, I didn't call him an idiot then, and some people may have. Look, people make mistakes in life. Okay,
they do.
Okay, and the reality is...
But this was so fundamental, this mistake.
I don't know why you're giving him such a hard time.
When you say fundamental, look, if I had... Okay, look, it's a matter... Look, I'm not going to say... I can't grade it in terms of a mistake being on a scale of 1 to 100, right? Being 100 meaning you kill somebody, that's a big mistake, right? You go to jail for that, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, Steve, you have insulted our country, and that's what most gets me. Mike Graham's not very patriotic, to be honest. He can't decide...
Right. Oh, so they're going to attack me?
He can't decide whether he's a Scotsman or an Englishman.
Steve, the thing you've got to know...
Hang on, I haven't finished.
Well, would you finish
can't
soon,
decide
please?
whether he's a Scotsman or an Englishman, therefore doesn't care. I care mightily for my country. My country is England, and to have our second city written off...
Your country is not an error.
As a city, it's unavailable to the majority, is wrong.
Listen, if it was true... If it was true and it was an insult to your country, I don't care. But if it's not true and an insult, then I do care.
Yeah.
So the reality is,
well, it's not true.
Our country is insulted all the time by people in commentators in Britain. I don't care about that.
Right.
If it's true, it's true.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah,
Okay?
this is not true. We both agree on that.
Well, would you mind? We know that it was a mistake. Move on, Steve. Here's a.
I'm trying to, but you know what?
No, I'm not talking to you, Steve. I'm talking to Mike Parry.
I'm being held to a standard that nobody. Look, I think the standard that I'm being held to. Everybody else should be held to that standard.
I agree, including the person sitting next to me who makes about 5 errors every 10 minutes.
No, I don't.
Hang on a second. Now, Steve, let me ask you one last question because we've got to end it here, I'm afraid. I really appreciate that you've come on and that you've been so honest about making a mistake because that's another thing very few people do. They go into hiding, they go back into their shell and you never see them again. We're doing a live show, a stage show in Birmingham on March the 6th. Now, it would be amazing if you happen to be over in this part of the world then, because we'd love to invite you to come along. And you could come to Birmingham, and you could talk to the good people of Birmingham, and I'm sure they'd welcome you with open arms.
Well, you know what? I've been very pleased with the fact because they've been very forgiving, and many of them, not all of them, some of them have been very abusive, appropriately so. I deserve it. I've gotten death threats. That's another thing. Listen, people are angry. I don't blame them. I'm not okay. They've invited me to Birmingham. I can't travel at this point for physical reasons, but I was invited there. I appreciated that invitation. Appreciated your invitation. I would love to visit. I'm just not physically able to travel at this point.
Okay. Well, listen, Steve. We'll keep in touch and don't let it get you down. Like I said, people make mistakes. It's just one of them in many. And I think you're right. You shouldn't be held to a higher standard than anybody else. And give my love to the New York Times. See you later.
Yeah,
Steve Emerson.
okay.
You see, you immediately went for him.
No.
That's typical of you.
Well, I'm sorry,
Mike,
Mike, but you can't describe yourself as an expert if you get such...
Well, you got the David Beckham penalty wrong.
David Beckham penalty was just a factual error. This was...
that was a factual error.
No, it wasn't. It was a huge policy error. He's trying to make out that the second city in this great country of ours is a totally Muslim city where, quotes, non-Muslims just simply don't go.
Yeah, it was a bit of a blunder.
Bit of a blunder. Absolutely dreadful.
Well, you, of all people, should not
He says London had Muslim religious police that beat up anyone not wearing religious Muslim attire. Now, what I'm saying is, London is one of the most significant cities in the world.
Yes.
Would you not agree?
It is, certainly.
It's got the world's biggest international airport. It's got the greatest history of
I'm not sure that's true, actually, but I'll let you go.
Yeah, of any
sure that's got
city.
The biggest international airport?
Well, it depends which sort of figures you're looking at, right?
So
in and out and all that kind of stuff.
Is that a mistake?
No, it's not a mistake.
It's an error?
No, it's a graded judgment.
Right.
And what I'm saying is, if you suddenly start dreaming up ideas that London's got Muslim religious police that beat up anybody not wearing religious Muslim attire, then you are so far off the mark that you don't deserve to be given any credibility for the very subject you claim to be an expert upon.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, I mean,
you got that?
I have got that. There's no need to start being abusive. As ever, what you do is you pick on people who you think you can pick on.
No,
and that tells me
I don't
that
like
you're
picking
a bully.
on people.
No, you're a bully.
I'm not a bully and I don't pick on people.
Yeah, there is empirical evidence to that effect. However,
rubbish.
We will
Nonsense.
move on.
Trash.
Let's see how many people can spot any mistakes that you've made in the next 5 minutes or so.
I don't think so.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about a massive scientific experiment, which I think you're going to really like. It's right up your street.
Oh, yeah, what is it?
Well, I'll tell you about it in a minute.
Right.
Because we've run out of time.
Okay.
This is Talk
We're always
Sport.
running out of time when you're talking.
Yeah, well, I think you'll find it's the other way round. We're the two mics. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. We are the two mics. Get us at the two mics on Twitter, and of course, get us at Mike Parry8 and at IROMG. We're going to be talking to a scientific expert in a moment because I've got a great experiment I want to tell you about.
Yes.
We're getting lots and lots of tweets coming in, some of which are supportive of you after that interview with Steve Emerson, and some of which are supporters of me. And Adrian says, "Well done, MG, on giving Stephen a fair crack of the whip. Porky's just let himself down a bucketful there." And then Abdul says, "Get some sense into it, Porky. You won the internet. Brilliant."
Yeah.
Then David
Stay Tran says, "Well said, Mike Parry, with regarding that uneducated Steve, the American. You were 100% spot on the way you told him, right?"
Mr. P. White says, at the two mics, "That terrorist fella said he wasn't an expert. Directly after the interview, Porky labels him an expert."
Absolutely. And JBPK says, "You should have just said that Brum is full of train spotters. He would have been right."
Yes.
That
harkens back to your... do you remember when you were trying to describe jihadists and you said train spotters by mistake?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Did I?
Yeah, you
did I?
did.
Oh,
yeah,
I
it's
know
on one of the
about that.
podcasts.
Okay, well, it's an in-joke then,
yeah,
obviously.
it is an in-joke, because
Right.
here's one from Paul who says, Porky, you make a living out of getting things wrong.
No, it's rubbish.
Which is true.
Utter rubbish.
Now, it may well be true in mitigation in your case that the mistakes that you make are not quite on such a large scale.
Says
and they're
here-
not in front of a worldwide global TV audience.
Says here from David, Steve has been very impressive. Fair play to him for taking ownership. If only our politicians took the same responsibility for their mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's what's good about him. And, of course, he must be absolutely mortified.
But DOR says, regarding Steve Emerson, thankfully, the Porkmeister, Mike Parrier, put the expert right. Thank you.
Listen to the excitement in your voice when you read one out that's finally supportive of you.
Exactly.
Now, let me tell you about this amazing experiment that we're going to talk to a professor about coming up next, right? He's assistant professor at Stanford University over in California. And he's by the name of David Lentink. Now, he's apparently solved a riddle of whether a lorry load of birds is the same weight, regardless of whether they're flying or not. Now, Sandy Moore and I had a conversation about this yesterday morning because it was in some of the papers.
What, did you have nothing else to talk about at the time?
Well, no, this is a fascinating conversation.
What's fascinating about it?
Well, because, the unknown...
Who cares?
Well, what do you mean, who cares?
What good is this to the world and society, whether a lorry full of birds is the same weight if the birds are sitting on a perch or if they're flapping around inside the back of the lorry? What a ridiculous experiment.
You're the kind of guy that if we were waiting for Isaac Newton to declare whether or not his experiments were worthwhile, you'd have said it wasn't worth doing. You'd have probably locked him up for being a witch, wouldn't you?
How can this be translated into a more useful purpose in life?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's ask the man himself,
Absolutely.
Professor David Lentink, because I think this is really interesting, because when I was asked this question this morning, is it the two birds flying around would actually weigh more? Because the original thinking you would think is if birds are flying, it was about that train conversation we had, if you jump up on a train.
That's right. Do you land in the same spot?
Do you land in the same spot? It's that kind of thing. So that's why I want to hear from Professor Lentink about how this can be used to further our knowledge, but also I would have thought if birds are flying around inside a lorry that they don't weigh anything.
Well, they do, because of the downforce of the wings, I suppose.
Well, you may be right about that. Let's find out. Professor Lentink, a very good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, two questions, really. Am I stupid to think that birds flying around inside a lorry wouldn't actually weigh as much as two birds sitting on a perch?
Well, certainly you're not stupid. So that's just to start there. But it's a really difficult question, I think, and it's one that's not so intuitive at start. But on average, not much will change. But the thing is that when birds have to support their own weight with their flapping wings, they don't support it continuously. And it turns out that when they have to downstroke their wings, they support their weight like twice as much as needed, because during the upstroke, they don't generate any weight support with their wings. So basically, on average, 2 plus 0 divided by 2 is still going to be 1. So they still have their perfect weight support on average. But if you look at how much it varies from beat to beat, you see that within a wing beat, it goes from 0 to 2 times body weight to 0, 2 times body weight. And so the downstroke is really powerful. And so it fluctuates.
I tell you what, Prof, what is the practical application of this experiment? I mean, will it end up teaching us how to eradicate cancer? Will we, in fact, be able to turn water into wine or metal into gold? No, I'm not being facetious. I'm not being facetious.
You're being facetious.
I am not. What I'm trying to say is the world is not waiting with bated breath to find out whether the weight of a bird in the back of a lorry is the same in midair or whether it's sitting on a perch, because there's no practical application to it.
Why don't we ask the professor?
Well, that's what I've asked. What is the practical application?
Professor Lentink, I'm sorry about my colleague here. He gets a bit overexcited.
No, I don't.
He's not very good at science. Please explain.
Well, I do understand he's more excited about wine and water, but let me explain how this can help. So then basically, if you think about it, so if you can actually measure the aerodynamic force that a bird is generating in midair, and a bird is really complex, right? It's changing shape. It's a really complex thing. If you can do that, it's already pretty amazing. That implies you can also do it, for example, from a freely flying drone. So if you want to understand how well a drone can make a maneuver and what sort of aerodynamic force is generating for it, what's great about this new device is we can measure this directly, and there was no way to do that before. So it can help optimize small drones, and you probably know that it won't last very long till there will be drones everywhere, right? So optimizing those a little bit, make them a little bit safer, making them fly a little more efficient.
Why don't we just practice on drones? Because if that's the purpose of it all, I don't understand.
No, because a drone needs to try and ape the movement of a bird. That's why.
No, it doesn't.
Well, it does.
No, it doesn't. That's rubbish.
It's flying in the air.
That's utter rubbish. A drone needs to ape the movement of a drone because it goes up and down, left and right, forwards and backwards.
Well, it flies.
And it flies, exactly.
Like a bird.
No, it doesn't. A bird flies because of the propulsion given to it by its wings. A drone moves because it has mechanical engines. There's no comparison. No comparison.
Is that true, Professor?
Well, drones also have rotating blades, so it's a little bit like flapping wings, but a bit more simple. I would say testing drones is much easier than testing for a bird.
Exactly.
And for bird, I had scientific questions I was really excited about. But because I'm an engineer, I'm also really excited about how I can apply that insight. So if I understand how a bird flies, I can apply the insight for building better drones. And that's really cool about it, I think. And drones are a little bit easier to test, and we actually already tested them. I used a drone to make sure that our measurements were really precise, because you can make measurements on the drone in multiple ways. Whereas, what we did with our birds is that we just asked them to fly back and forth between two birds.
Hang on.
The reason we're able to develop supersonic aircraft is because we were able not to study the flight of birds or eagles or anything like that, because they don't move in the same way, because we managed to develop a jet engine that went faster and faster and faster. So I do not accept the scientific link between drones and birds. I think it's nutsville, because birds have been around for 8.5 million years, and drones have been around for less than 8 years. And
birds have been around a little bit longer. I had to interrupt here, but they actually are. It's more like 100 million or something.
100 million years. Well, there you go. And 100 million years it's taken us to work out that a bird looks a bit like a drone. I don't get this. I don't get it.
I'm not surprised you don't get it. Professor, I'm afraid we're out of time. Thank you so much
Thank you very much indeed, Prof.
I apologise profusely for the thick-headedness of my colleague here.
No, it's not me that's thick-headed. Our audience now are aghast and wondering what on earth we're talking about. Why are we talking about birds and the weight of a bird flying around in the back of a lorry? It's nutsville.
It's educational. Professor, thank you for joining us. Professor, you're so rude to these people.
I'm not rude. I'm not being rude. I'm trying to be practical.
Here's one from, where are we? A couple of tweets that have come in. I've lost it now. Ian says this. Did Porky say earlier he was getting a pet porpoise? They're loving the show here in Melbourne at 25 Celsius. Are you envious? And Marcus says, as usual, Porky spouting nonsense. Dubai has just overtaken Heathrow as the world's busiest airport. If he bothered to read the news over the last 7 days, he would know that.
It depends which set of figures you actually read. Now, here's a great one here from William. You see, I love intelligent listeners like this. He says, Mike Parry, I have to agree with you, Porky. Old MG constantly gives us frivolous, useless information. You give us intelligent, useful information that serves us, your listeners, and the community. So I think that's the sort of message that we're getting from our listeners, and that's the sort of thing, Mike, you should take notice of, and not waste your time exploring the sort of drivel that actually means nothing to nobody, has no practical application,
nothing to nobody,
and bores our audience to death.
Not at all. The Prof, as you call him, is a member of a very elite group at Stanford University.
Oh, really?
I'm embarrassed the way you spoke to him. I'm sorry that you can't work it out because you're too thick, but never mind. We'll explore it more. This is TalkSport Extra Time. There will be a podcast coming out of the latest Two Mics show, of course, which will be, around about 11 o'clock this morning, maybe midday, something like that. James has tweeted at the Two Mics. He says, Porky calling that guy Prof is so embarrassing.
What is a professor? You call him Prof.
You don't call him Prof.
Now, Liz Hilton says, at the Two Mics, another expert talking rubbish. He and Mike Parry should get on well. Well, hang on, he was talking the rubbish, not me. And then one here from Richard Garth. He says, go on, Porky. Where did old MG get this loon from? And who cares what he's talking about? I totally agree with you. Absolutely right. Another one here from Robin Smith. He says, great point, Mike Parry. Graham, that's Mike Graham, associates himself with the pointless minutiae of life whilst you ask the big journalistic questions, OK?
Really?
And that, to me, sums it all up.
Well, how about this one from Graham, who says this. Mike Parry cares about his country. The other week he wanted the UK to be the 51st state of America. Which is true.
Well, we're in safer hands than being part of the European whatever it is, in my view.
The European whatever it is?
Yeah.
You mean the European Union?
Well, is it the Union or is it the European Common Market? I mean, what is it these days?
It's the European Union.
What is it? European Union? Yeah, well, there you go.
The EU.
Right, now then, talking about America, right?
Yeah.
Talking about America,
Yes.
I have an issue here which I want to discuss with you.
Okay.
And we're going to have a small experiment,
All
okay?
right, okay.
Now, you may have seen the stories of the last couple of days at the Cadbury's Cream Egg. Which, by the way, has been on sale since before Christmas.
I know.
In my local Tesco's.
Well, it's pretty much on sale all year round, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, been there since about the 27th of December, okay?
Yeah.
There are complaints that since the company that makes them, Cadbury's, was acquired by Kraft of America, that the quality of the chocolate has changed.
Really?
And the content of the inside...
Have they not changed the recipe or something as well?
Well, apparently they've changed the recipe for the chocolate. Now, what I thought I'd do is buy a couple of cream eggs, which you have here, and I thought we should taste them each and give our verdict.
Well,
There's
to be
your
honest,
cream egg.
I'm not a massive expert on cream eggs. I mean, I do probably, I probably around about Easter time would eat one cream egg or something like that. Because I was never a big fan of the fact that they kind of expanded the range.
Yeah.
And so they do more than one version of a cream egg now, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
But
absolutely.
I mean, would you say that you're expert enough in the chocolate tasting to know whether it's any different?
Definitely. I've loved chocolate all my life.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure I would know.
My favourite chocolate has always been Galaxy. Don't know why. I think there's more milk in it or something.
Well, you did very well when we gave you the chocolate quiz, remember?
Exactly, yeah. I in fact, worked out a double-decker right away.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Now,
I was very impressed by that.
I'm going to bite into it now. Here.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Well, surely you can't detect just from doing that exactly whether it's changed or not.
Well, I can.
Do you think it's changed? Or can you not really speak at the moment? Shall I speak for you?
No.
Graham in Wolverhampton, I'll read this out while you're taking that in. Will somebody give Mike Parry a chill pill? All he's done is be rude, negative and downright arrogant and aggressive at times. At least that Steve apologised for his mistake. That's one thing Porky has never done or would ever do, says Graham.
I do all the time. Right, now then. It does taste slightly more tart to me than usual. Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about the filling or are you talking about the chocolate?
Just the chocolate.
I'm going to take a very small piece of it.
Well, get to the filling now. Right. Now we'll try the filling. Okay? Mm-hmm. Here we go.
You're not supposed to take another bite of it. I'm taking very, very small bites. But the chocolate tastes exactly the same to me. I would say chocolate doesn't taste any different.
Right. It's going to be a world chocolate shortage anyway.
There's not going to be a world chocolate shortage. Is this because there's no more milk to put in it? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, there'll be a milk problem soon.
Yeah, I know. You told us about that on Monday. You told us about that on Monday.
But the actual...
Have you been having some kind of electroshock therapy since Monday?
No.
You don't seem to remember anything that we talked about.
The Coca-Cola plant is also under threat.
The Coca-Cola plant?
Yeah.
What's the Coca-Cola plant?
Sorry, I meant the cocoa plant. Sorry.
I was going to say, genetic engineering's really gone some way, hasn't it? Where they can actually make a Coca-Cola plant.
The cocoa plant.
Yes.
Which is the basis of chocolate.
Yeah.
Right, now that filling tastes exactly the same to me.
Yeah. Well, the chocolate,
very, very nice
chocolate tastes exactly the same to me.
It's the same colour, yellow and
white.
And white
like
and all that
egg.
kind of stuff, like an egg.
Well, so why is there all this fuss being made?
I don't know, but the purists seem to think that it's all changed,
I think
chocolate
that worries me.
Tastes a little bit different, a little bit sweeter, if anything.
See, I'm not a big fan of cream eggs. I always thought they were a bit sickly anyway. But what I was more concerned about, because there were two stories about cream eggs this week, and the other one, which I think is far more worrying, is that they've now reduced the number of cream eggs in a packet of 6 to 5 for the same money. And I've for a long time been very suspicious of the shortening of various chocolate bars, which have become smaller and smaller and smaller.
No.
They have.
That's wrong.
I think you should stop eating it now.
Chocolate bars have become bigger and bigger and bigger.
No, they've made bigger ones for more money.
That's what I'm
but
saying.
The ones that have remained at the same price have been getting actually smaller and smaller. I mean, you look at a Topic now, for example, right? The size of a Topic is about a third less than it used to be for the same money.
Is that right? Yeah. And
you think you
know
can
what?
Stop eating the chocolate now?
No, it's very nice indeed, that. Thank you. I don't normally eat on air, but this was an official experiment. I'd say there's very little change at all.
I can't detect any difference.
And it's not going to stop me buying a few cream eggs and giving them to people as presents for Easter.
Maybe you could get my kids another one of those selection boxes of cream eggs.
I will.
They're still moaning about the fact that I didn't bring the chocolate home,
That's because you ate it all here.
Well, I did, yeah.
You fat pig.
Well, no, there's no need to be rude.
I give you a load of chocolate bars for your kids, and what you do, you go around and eat them yourself, eh?
Well, I'll tell you what, yesterday, the boy whose birthday it was took a load of millionaire shortbread. You know what that is?
Millionaire shortbread? No.
It's stuff you buy in a bakery. It's kind of
I should imagine you do,
seller.
if it's shortbread.
It's sort of chocolate squares with a kind of shortbread underneath and a layer of caramel. Very nice. He took them in to share with his friends at school. And when we took him out for dinner, he wasn't as hungry as he ought to have been, and he just confessed that he'd eaten 7 of them.
Oh, dear.
You know what they're like with kids. So I don't want to give them any more chocolate, to be honest. I'll give him his duck and see whether he likes it.
Exactly, yeah. And what did he have for dinner?
He had a pizza.
Pizza.
Which I've just been eating as well. I'm surprised you haven't actually noticed.
I didn't want to tell the audience that, because I don't like them to think that we are
I told you at the top of the show that I was hungry, and
we are so
Dave very kindly
slovenly
brought a pizza in.
that we go around eating pizzas during shows. I would never do that, because you know why? It corrupts your saliva glands. And if it corrupts your saliva glands, your diction, your enunciation, your ability to get your point over to the audience, the millions of people out there who hang on your every word, is not happening properly.
Right. Loads more to come. We are the Two Mics. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. You can find us at the Two Mics, at Mike Perrier, at IROMG. You'll take a lot of stick for the way that you'll be talking to some of the guests on the show this morning,
I haven't.
by the way.
No,
I
haven't. I've been honest and forthright, and that has been recognised by the majority of our listeners.
Right. Well, if that's what you think, then you're entitled to think that. But we've got another guest coming up, so I'm going to ask you to try and be a bit more polite to him. This is John Dickey. Now, we're going to talk about this amazing event this week, which you probably saw on TV. 2 climbers making history in Yosemite National Park by reaching the summit of what has been called the world's hardest rock climb. And they did it without actually using any ropes at all. I mean, it had safety ropes, but incredible stuff, an incredible kind of feat of human endeavour, really. Let's talk to John Dickey, who knows a little bit about this story, because he's climbed with 1 or 2 of these guys. John, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you too. This is an amazing feat, isn't it? I mean, this piece of rock is taller than the tallest building in the world, which is in Dubai. It's taller than the biggest building in Western Europe, which is the Shard, by almost twice as much. It's an incredible thing that these guys have done. 3,000 feet just using their hands and feet, if you like.
You know what? That's exactly it. This is a monumental sort of achievement. And I think what's really important for people to understand is, you know, the older way of being able to climb these sheer rock faces that you can't imagine, where people would hammer things into the rock and they would hook on ledges and pull up on this equipment. These guys were not doing that. I mean, they were just climbing with their fingertips and their toes on these, like, incredibly small holds for 3,000 feet. Like, it's truly a massive achievement.
I mean, it's a slight contradiction here, John, isn't it? Because although they were climbing without the aid of ropes and hammers and all that kind of stuff, they nevertheless were secured to the side of the mountain, weren't they?
Absolutely, yeah, at all times. So free climbing is basically when your upward progress is just being done by your body. Yeah. And if you fall, you know, your partner's holding on to the end of the rope, and so you don't fall to the ground and die, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like, that's the idea. You might get pretty beat up. You know, you might smack into the rock and break an ankle, break a leg, maybe get a concussion or something, but you don't go all the way to the ground and die.
Sure, and as I understand it, the biggest problem...
And you know a bit about that, don't you?
Sorry?
You've fallen off a cliff, haven't you?
I had a tumble down one time. The biggest problem, one of the biggest problems these guys have is that they lacerate, literally, the ends of their fingers on the razor-sharp granite stone that they're grabbing to get up the side of the mountain. Yeah, that's what I said.
Granite.
Stone, yeah.
Yeah,
so
how
do they survive that, John? Aren't they allowed to wear gloves or anything?
Well, so when you're belaying and you're just holding the rope, you'll wear gloves just to kind of take care of your hands. But there is this whole process of dealing with the skin on your fingertips. First off, it has to be built up from years and years and years of climbing. You've got to have this thick, calloused skin to be able to climb that many hard pitches.
Right.
And then secondly, as you're actually trying to do something of that caliber, you put little layers of tape on the tips of your skin, and it gets really technical how you put the tape on because it'll peel off, and so you'll climb easier sections of rock where maybe you don't need as much dexterity with a little layer of tape. Yeah. But then as soon as it gets to the really, really hard stuff, you got to take that back off and just go skin straight onto the rock, and you shred your fingertips. And you'll see photos of those guys actually with files. Filing down their skin, because the minute you get one little roll or tear of skin, that roll will catch on the next edge and just rip open your whole finger. And if you rip open your whole finger, then you're done. Then it's game over. You're going to have to wait a couple weeks till you heal.
Yeah, that sounds awful, really awful. Wasn't there a film that starred...
It's pretty unpleasant, honestly, yeah.
Pretty unpleasant. Wasn't there a film that starred Tom Cruise? You know what those Tom Cruise films were, you know, Mission Impossible and all that?
Oh,
where he climbed...
Yeah, Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Now, was this the
Did he
same?
climb?
Well, he climbed up this rock.
Did he?
Totally unaided, but he didn't even take safety ropes with him. You know,
he's
was
an actor.
I know he is.
He wasn't actually doing it.
I know, but what I'm saying is...
Tom Cruise is magic. What can you say?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, John, would that be possible in real life, to start on the ground without a rope or anything and just climb straight up and eventually get to the top?
If it was an easy enough climb for the climber, sure. Alex Honnold, maybe you've heard of him. He's become very famous around the world.
Yep.
He climbs a great deal without ropes.
Mm.
Now, he would never attempt to do a climb of this difficulty without ropes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we can all walk up flight of stair after flight of stair after flight of stair.
Yeah.
You start making those flights of stairs steeper and steeper and steeper, you're going to start questioning how many flights of stairs you walk up, but some are going to be able to do it.
Yeah, exactly right. Listen, John, we've had a bit of a development here, so we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. John Dickey there. Incredible story. We're going to talk a bit more about this. We've got to go over to John Norman right now, because believe it or not, England have already lost a wicket.
No.
John.
Morning, Mikes. Yes, first ball of Owen Morgan and England's Brave New World has come to a familiar end. Ian Bell in at the top of the order, ahead of Alistair Cook, who of course has been dropped ahead of this match, ahead of Alex Hales. Well, he lasted precisely one ball from Mitchell Starc. It was an inducker. He missed it. It crashed into his front pad, and the umpire's finger's gone up. So the worst possible start for England in this tri-series involving Australia and England. One ball in. England, 0 for 1.
That's just unbelievable, isn't it? 0 for 1. The Brave New World of
exactly,
Morgan's world. But listen, this is an incredible story, isn't it, this ascent? Because I can't
haven't you
imagine...
been watching it and following it?
Yes, of course I have.
Well, why are you so amazed about it? It's happened.
Well, I'm amazed that it has happened.
These guys slept on the side of the mountain by knocking in a few nails and then, fixing a plank to sleep on.
Yeah, well, we know all about planks on this show, don't we?
What does that mean?
Well, you know very well what it means.
Well,
congratulations, by the way. Congratulations for managing to talk to one of our guests without insulting him
hang on.
or questioning his credentials.
You just accused me of being insulting to a couple of guests. All I was trying to do was find out why they were pursuing such ludicrous arguments.
Hang on.
And now...
we've lost another wicket. Let's go back to John Norman.
God.
For heaven's sake, John.
I can't believe it, Mike. How many times have we spoken cricket over the years and it's been a negative for England? Well, third ball of the match. England 0 for 2. Another in-swinging ball from Mitchell Starc. Brilliant bowling from the Australian. James Taylor, who survived the first ball, so I suppose he's doing slightly better than Ian Bell, but he couldn't survive the second. Exactly the same result. So he's gone from a 2-ball duck. England reeling already inside the first over, 0 for 2.
Dominic Cork was on the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast this morning.
That's right.
Saying that, or yesterday morning, I should say now, saying that he thought that, England are going out here, they've got nothing to lose. People don't expect anything from them. And he thought they might just turn something on.
Yeah, well, they have, haven't they? What they've turned on is ineptness.
Yeah. Where's Kevin Peterson when you need him?
Ineptness on a huge scale. Well, thing is, Kevin Peterson said just 48 hours ago, I think Ian Morgan, is it Ian? Owen Morgan.
Yeah, but he's Irish. You said on the Sports Breakfast the other day.
Ewan.
Yeah, but we've had this conversation before because you maintain that it's, you know the Welsh pronunciation. Yeah. But he's actually Irish.
Well, it's all the Gaelic Brotherhood.
No, it isn't.
And I'm well in with the Gaelic Brotherhood, honestly. Yeah, don't worry about that.
You're well in with somebody. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, don't worry about that. But no, that is massive ineptitude.
Joe Root's up now. He's supposed to be good.
Because if you can't get your act together in a situation like this, when as John quite rightly described it, the brave new world of one-day internationals, and I don't know what on earth we're doing here. I don't know what we're doing here. Wasting our time, humiliating our country, letting our countrymen down. I mean, it's just not good enough, I'm afraid.
That's all right. Ewan Morgan's from Ireland, as I said.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. He's playing for England, so that's all you need to know.
So doesn't this make you think perhaps Kevin Peterson has got a point?
No.
You still don't want him back?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not at all pro Kevin Peterson. I think the elements he brings to the dressing room are so negative that it would be utterly counterproductive to have him invited back. That era's gone now, and that was the point I was making. He was saying 48 hours ago, well, the new the new captain would like me in the team. Well, the new captain was spoken to before this match, which is now turning out to be a debacle, started and said, no,
Debacle.
there is a debacle. There is no room for Kevin Peterson.
Kevin Peterson. Now, it's unfortunate that we can't talk to John Dickey anymore because one of the things that's fascinating about him is that he was once held hostage for 6 days by Islamic militants in Kyrgyzstan, right? And they escaped by pushing a guard off a cliff before making a harrowing 18-mile trek to freedom. That sounds like the plot of a movie, doesn't it?
It does,
make a film out of that.
Sounds like the On the Wings of Eagles.
Hey?
On the Wings of Eagles.
What's that?
That was written by... I'll tell you what that was written by. That was written by the guy whose wife is a Labour MP, but a very famous author.
Oh, you mean Ken Follett?
Ken Follett, right. And do you know who it was written about? It was
I have no idea.
H. Ross Perot.
Oh, yeah.
And H. Ross Perot...
he once ran for president.
He once ran for president as an independent, quite right. But he's from Texas. He had a huge computer company in Texas.
He did.
And they had an office in Iran. The revolution happened, if you remember. The peacock throne was unseated.
The Ayatollah came in.
And the Shah fled and the Ayatollah came in.
Yeah.
And all his people from his office were trapped in Iran. So he led a rescue mission.
Right.
Aboard,
Was that separate to the hostages then?
Yeah,
Inside
absolutely
the American
separate.
embassy?
They were a separate group, but they were trapped in Tehran. And he led a one-man rescue mission. Hired the plane, hired the soldiers, what do you call them?
Mercenaries.
The mercenaries, that's right. And eventually led them out the country, across the border, through a mountainous pass. But it sounds just like that sort of scenario, doesn't it?
I'm sorry that we didn't get to hear that story from our guest there, John Dickey. But unfortunately,
well, you've
England's
got to ask him. That's why.
Well, no, England's appalling performance meant that we had to go straight back to the cricket. I wasn't expecting to have to go in for an update.
I think you really should get your priorities right sometimes.
10 or 15 minutes.
Really, I do.
What would you rather I hadn't brought to the public's attention that England are now 0-for-2?
No, but there's a way of doing these things. You've got to go round corners and dance around the campfire, Mike, when you're doing the
Dance around the campfire.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that coming up because the Porky quiz is not far off.
Okay.
We're going to look at all the transfer stories in the papers as well. It's all coming up on TalkSport. It is the moment that many people who love this show have been waiting for. One of the most popular parts of the show, along with Porky Vision, which we'll be doing later on, of course. It's time for the Porky quiz. We do it about this time every Friday morning. And your chosen subject this week, chosen by you, is tomatoes.
I never chose tomatoes.
Yes, you did.
I don't know anything about tomatoes, but...
What do you mean you don't know anything about tomatoes?
But I've been researching on them, so...
Oh, have you?
I think you'll be rather surprised.
Oh, right, OK. All right. Well, in that case, as you know, these questions have been compiled by an independent collection of quiz masters. If you get one right, this is the sound you will hear.
Tomato.
Something like
It's
that.
rather brief.
It is a bit brief. If you get one wrong, you'll hear this.
Tomato.
Oh, I see. Tomato and tomato.
Tomato.
Got it.
So tomato if it's right.
Subtle.
Tomato if it's
clever.
wrong. Yeah, I think they're still working on that, actually. Back
Yeah,
there.
I think they are.
Yeah, they've only had about 4 hours.
Panic in the control room
Never
there.
mind. Now, question number one.
Yes.
I don't know if they're ready. Are you ready in there? Right. Question number one. How many different varieties of tomatoes are there?
What are you laughing at?
You're already giving me that look. That kind of inscrutable
Do you
Mike
mean in
Perry
this
look.
country or around the world?
Well, actually, I'm quite willing to take a variety of answers on this because you can either give me the number that are available in British shops,
Yes.
different varieties,
Yes.
or the number of different varieties actually in the world.
There's 51 in the world.
That's not right.
It is right.
That's not.
I've researched it earlier.
No, it isn't.
What do you say?
Tomato.
I'm saying it's 7,500.
That's utter rubbish.
It's not.
Utter nonsense. Right, well, it must be 51 in this country then.
No, that's not right either.
There's 18 in this country.
No.
I think it is 18. I think it is.
No, it's 5.
My memory's...
There are 5
coming
types
back.
of tomato on sale in British shops. You want me to tell you what they are?
Yes.
Vine tomatoes, beef tomatoes,
Beef.
plum tomatoes,
Plum tomatoes.
cherry tomatoes,
Cherry tomatoes.
and classic tomatoes.
Classic.
So I think that's a very round 0 out of 1.
Load of gobbledygook. That's a trick question, anyway.
Not at all. Question number 2.
Every tomato looks the same to most people.
Rubbish.
It does.
Plum
There's
tomatoes
only
are a
one
completely
tomato.
different shape.
Plum tomatoes only come in tins. They do.
Where do you think they get them?
But you can't buy them
don't-
in Tesco's.
Of course you can.
No, you can't. They're in a tin. Plum tomatoes are in tins.
You can buy them as they grow,
No.
like plum tomatoes.
No, you can't.
Anyway.
Rubbish.
Question number 2.
Yeah.
You might have more chance of this one. Can you name 2 stars from the movie Fried Green Tomatoes?
Fried green tomatoes.
It was quite an iconic film of the 90s, which is your kind of era.
No, it's not my era. Right, one of them was a woman. What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at?
Yes, you're right. One of them was a woman, but you don't get any points for that.
But she was like, she was a popular 90s actress.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that would figure since the film was
so
made
it
in
must have been somebody
1991.
like Meryl Streep or somebody like that. I'm not saying it was Meryl Streep, but it's somebody like Meryl Streep.
Well, you're going to have to give me a name.
Somebody like Meryl Streep or...
Somebody like Meryl Streep.
Yeah, or that other woman who was in Ekina Brakovic, whatever it's called. You know the one I mean? No, what was it?
Brakovic, Erin Brockovich.
Who?
Erin Brockovich.
Erin Brockovich,
Do you know something famous about Erin Brockovich?
No.
I think I'm right in saying this. That Michelle Mone and the Ultimo bra was born in that film. Michelle Mone's company made the bra that Julia Roberts wore.
Oh, is that right?
And as a result of that, Ultimo became this massive
World
company.
famous, yeah.
Anyway, just a bit of trivia.
Or it could have been Julia Roberts.
Yeah, is that your answer?
Yeah, Julia Roberts.
Wrong.
Tomato.
Wrong.
And there's a male actor as well.
Well, who was he?
That was fried green tomatoes. I reckon that was... it's probably Tom Hanks.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, I'm afraid.
Oh,
0 out of 2.
Who
You
was
could have had Kathy Bates.
Never heard of her.
Jessica Tandy.
Never heard of
Never
her.
watched Driving Miss Daisy.
Driving Miss Daisy, yeah.
Chris O'Donnell.
Who's he?
He played Robin in one of the Batman films.
Rubbish.
And Mary Stuart Masterson. You could have had her.
I've never heard of her.
She's not related to Masterton here, by the way.
No, she's not, no.
Although you'd probably like her to be.
Yeah.
Question number 3. Who is the largest producer of tomatoes?
What do you mean?
Who is the largest producer of tomatoes? Not a very difficult question.
What, in the world?
Yeah.
Do you mean which country?
Yes.
That would be... China.
Correct.
Thank you.
He has been doing some research.
Hey.
Any idea how much they produce? I'm not saying you get any more points for that.
Well, lots and lots of thousands of tons.
34 million tonnes.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
They even put them in tins as well. OK, question number 4. Have a listen to this. Any idea what that song is called?
I bet it's got the word tomatoes in it.
Well, is that your answer?
Well, hang on. Who's the group to start off with?
Well, I'm not telling you.
So you just play some random record
Play you a piece of music
from Spain.
What's the name of it?
It's a Spanish record.
Well, maybe.
What do you mean, maybe?
I'm not in the business of giving you clues, am I?
Well, it's either Spanish or Mexican or something like that, and I'm not an expert on the Mexican top 20.
Mexican?
You know, from 30 years ago.
It was a very popular song worldwide.
Worldwide.
And it's still played on holidays that people go on. If you ever went to holiday, you'd have heard it.
Well, it's not Viva España.
Is that your answer?
No.
Well, give me an answer.
Viva España. We're off to the Costa Brava plane. It's not that one, is it?
It was number 1 in this country.
Number 1 in this country?
Yeah, what did you say?
What?
What did you just say?
I said Viva España.
Yeah, it's not that. Wrong.
No, I know. I said it wasn't Viva España.
Oh, well, don't tell me what it isn't.
No,
tell me what it is.
No, well,
the quiz is I ask you a question, you don't tell me what it isn't.
It must have been... If it had the word tomato in it, I can't remember a number 1 hit with the word tomato in it. Oh, hang on. What about Un Can Tomato? Wasn't it? Un Can Tomato?
No, it's called the Ketchup Song.
The Ketchup Song, load of rubbish.
And the band was called Las Ketchup.
Las Ketchup. Where are they from?
Spain.
Well, I've told you I'm not an expert on the Spanish pop charts,
You
am
said
I?
you weren't an expert on the Mexican
Well, I'm
charts
not,
either.
but they speak Spanish.
1 out of 4. Question number 5. I feel certain that you'll get this one.
Right.
Which royal correspondent was once described as the big fat red tomato?
Our very old friend, James Whittaker.
Correct.
Who, unfortunately, is no longer with us.
That's right. He's no longer
He was
with
called
us.
the Big Red Tomato because Princess Diana saw him once coming down the slopes in Verbier.
That's right.
In a bright red ski outfit,
Yeah.
and described him as the big red fat tomato.
Yeah, big fat red tomato.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well, he was a bit round, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Very good guy.
He
Then.
had a very red face as well, James. Yeah.
2 out of 5. You're already looking like you're doing better than last week.
Yeah,
Question number 6. Which 2 football managers famously banned tomato ketchup from the club canteen?
Well, Gus Poyet did. Sorry, no. Correct that. It was what's his name at Sunderland.
What's his name?
Who was the predecessor to Gus Poyet, and that was the It was the footballer who... What are you laughing at?
Because I don't know how your mind works.
Hang on. It was he was the manager who pushed the referee over. Paolo Di Canio.
Correct.
Paolo
That's
Di
only one
Canio.
part. That's only one. You need two.
What do you mean?
There are two. The question said, which two football managers famously banned tomato ketchup from the club canteen?
Well, there's another manager.
There is.
I thought you meant two at the same club.
No. Well, it doesn't count if you say Gus Poyet and Paolo Di Canio because they weren't there at the same time.
No.
Paolo Di Canio is one. What's the other?
Well, was this before or after?
It was before. I don't really want to give you any more clues, though.
Before Paolo Di Canio. Well, he must have been a right nutter, so that was probably...
Are you about to libel somebody now?
No. What could have been... I would say that was probably Jose Mourinho.
Incorrect. I'll tell you what, I don't know whether... Well, we'll see at the end. I might give you half a point for Paolo Di Canio.
No, I want half a point for that. I got one name right.
Yeah, well, you might get half a point for that.
No.
The other one was Juan de Ramos when he was at Spurs.
Juan de Ramos. He was only there 5 minutes. That doesn't count.
What?
It doesn't count.
What do you mean it doesn't count?
He was only there for
we can ask the resident Spurs expert how long was he there? Was he there for 5 minutes?
A matter of months.
More minutes than 5.
A few more minutes than 5, that's all. He was hardly ever there.
So at the moment...
That's a trick question.
At the moment...
That's a despicable man trap that you put me in again.
Now, here's one that you might like, because it's a question about the Beatles. Which Beatles song originally had tomatoes in the lyric before it was changed?
You are
a Beatles expert, so you might know this one.
It wasn't Yesterday, because that was scrambled eggs. Tomatoes. Now, you sure about this?
Very
I know
sure.
everything about the Beatles, and I don't remember them writing a record called Tomatoes.
Well, they didn't write a record called Tomatoes.
No.
Listen to the question.
Yeah.
Which Beatles song originally had tomatoes in the lyric before it was changed?
In the lyric?
So it wasn't the title of a song.
Right. So why did they take tomatoes out the lyrics then?
Well, if I tell you, then you might guess it. So I'm not really. So I'm not in a position to help you. The quizmasters won't allow me to give you too many clues.
I reckon it was Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
It's not a bad guess, but let's hear what song it is. No, that's not it.
Well, it's
The original lyric was this: "Would you throw ripe tomatoes at me?"
That's rubbish.
It's not rubbish.
It is rubbish.
It's true.
I think that's nonsense.
No.
Verification of that whatsoever.
2 out of 7.
Bum question.
Question number 8. Which organisation recommended the throwing of tomatoes at members of the public as part of a 2008 awareness campaign?
Say that again?
Which organisation recommended the throwing of tomatoes at members of the public as part of a 2008 awareness campaign?
Throwing tomatoes at the public?
Yes.
Awareness?
You might be able to work it out if you think about it.
Well, I think about it all the time.
Do you?
Yeah, the answers. I've got to thoroughly research my brain. I would say that would be... It's got to be one of these sort of goofy, social, sort of experimental type things, isn't it?
No, you're kind of on the right track.
Yeah.
But I can't give you any more clues because I get
You
terrible
haven't given
trouble.
me a clue. You haven't given me a single clue. Or did you give me his bum clues, as usual? I would say that could be... it'll be some sort of museum or theatre or something.
Museum? Is that your answer?
Museum. Let me see. So I reckon it could be...
Tomato Museum.
No, it could be the... I would say it's the V&A.
The V&A.
Victoria and Albert Museum.
Victoria and Albert Museum. No, incorrect. It was PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, who wanted people to throw tomatoes at those found wearing fur coats.
Why?
Well, because it's better than throwing blood on them.
Well, it's disgusting.
So you got
honestly.
2 out of 9.
No, I'm not...
2 out of 8, sorry.
Yeah.
Question number 9. In which 2009 movie do tomatoes and other foodstuffs fall from the sky on the town of Swallow Falls?
What?
Very popular film, this one.
What year was the film?
2009. It's an animated film, if that's any help to you.
Animated film, 2009? Oh, dear.
I'm giving you way too many clues.
Hang on. So, how many years ago is that? That's
6.
7 years ago.
That's 6 years ago.
No, it's not. 2009 to 2015 is 6. Yeah, but but it's only just become 2015, so it's 5 years.
Well, that's
ago,
that's even further away from 7 than 6.
Hang on. 5. Let me just think this through.
We'll have to hurry you.
And you say it's an animated film.
An animated film.
I reckon it was Pocahontas.
Tomato.
Yeah, because everybody knows in the well-known Pocahontas fable that food falls out of the sky.
Well, I don't know of another film that was animated in those days.
In those days?
Yeah.
Days of yore. It's called Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
What a load of rubbish. I've never heard of it. I don't even believe that exists.
It's a very famous film.
I don't believe that
exists.
exists.
They made a sequel as well.
I don't believe that exists, honestly.
My prediction of you getting about 3 out of 10 is looking about right. Pocahontas was made approximately 14 years earlier.
Was it? Well, they might have repeated it, mightn't they?
They might have done, but that didn't mean any food was falling out of the sky. Yeah. Right, final question. Question number 10. Can you get 3 out of 10? Which was my prediction for you. What do you call a fear of tomatoes?
Don't be ridiculous. Nobody's frightened of tomatoes.
You're frightened of eggs?
No, I'm not frightened of eggs. Just don't eat them because
I
they
thought
make
you
me ill.
researched it, you said. Didn't you look this up?
Yeah, of course, I looked it up. Yeah.
Well, what's the answer then?
Well, it's a Latin thing.
A Latin thing?
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't it?
Is that your description of modern culture? A bit like the ketchup song?
No.
It's a Latin thing.
No, it's, what I'm saying is it's the medical term is Latin.
Is it?
Latin.
I've no idea if it's Latin.
And it's something like Sepracanus ultimatus or something like that. No, it is. It is.
You're just making that up.
No,
now,
I'm not.
Well, it's nothing like
if you give me an English version, I'm going to contradict you because I know that it's in Latin.
Well, you can contradict me as much as you like. You've got 2 out of 10 so far. You have still got 2 out of 10.
Tomato.
Incorrect. The answer is lycopersicoaphobia, which doesn't sound Latin to me.
Yeah. Well, it's rubbish, you know. The whole test is rubbish. How can you have a proper test, directed at somebody as well read as me on blinking tomatoes?
Well,
it's a mockery.
You wanted a test on tomatoes.
I never.
Right.
That's rubbish.
Well, you got 2 out of 10. Let's see what you would like the next test on then. What's your next favourite subject for a quiz next week?
I'm not going to choose a subject. Why should I?
Well, because you chose...
Make it easy for you.
You chose British authors last time. You got 2 out of 10. You've just chosen tomatoes. You got 2 out of 10. I think I'm going to give you a test on cliffs.
No, don't be silly.
Yeah, cliffs.
You can't.
Like the one you fell down.
You can't have a test on cliffs.
Yeah, you can.
No.
I can do a test on anything.
I'm not going to research the world's cliffs. I'm telling you. I tell you what,
cliffs of the world.
We could have it on prohibition if you like, because today
you want a quiz on prohibition?
On this day in 1919, America introduced prohibition.
Are you an expert on
and
prohibition?
It stuck for 14 years. I didn't realise that.
Are you an expert on prohibition? Then?
Well, I can be an expert on prohibition. Yeah. Do you know that sometimes, if you're well intoxicated and you learn a valuable
What do you mean sometimes? In your case, pretty much all the time, isn't it?
And you learn a valuable piece of information, then you get sober and you've forgotten it.
Yeah.
But then if you get intoxicated again, you can remember it.
Is really?
Yeah, because there's an intoxicated part of your brain which only wakes up when you're intoxicated.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can just develop that thought coming up a little bit later. Well, I've got a few people who are picking you up on your Map of the World conversation about Kevin Peterson's tattoo as well. JBPK says, India and Pakistan, those well-known Southern Hemisphere nations. Steve Parry.
Oh, no, India's in the Southern Hemisphere. Of course it is.
India's not in the Southern Hemisphere.
Of course it is.
Well, you think it's below the equator?
Yeah, of course it is.
No, it isn't.
It is.
You think Pakistan's below the equator? Where
Well,
do you think the equator is?
Listen, India is alongside Africa, and Africa is in the Southern Hemisphere.
Part of it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, well, part of India's in the Southern Hemisphere, isn't it?
Is any of Pakistan in the Southern Hemisphere?
Probably not.
Probably not. Well, how about this one from the doctor, who says, if you draw a line from the North Pole to the South Pole through America, it will go through Guyana, where they play cricket.
It may and it may not. Depends which route you take.
Yeah.
I've got one here. Mike, you've been done over again in the quiz. This needs to stop. Not fair quiz, says Mark Dealey.
How about this from Gary? Porky's having a shocker in the quiz here. Someone like Meryl Streep. Ha ha. And here's one from Mart, who says, just got into bed listening to Mike Parry's quiz in hysterics that his plum tomatoes only come from tins.
It's true. And Liz Hilton says, this is tomato-itis. What she means is that it's prejudice against me.
Really?
Yes.
Is that what you're going to tell us?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we've got a great many things to talk about. We're going to talk to Sandra Lee coming up in a little while. We will be getting a load of updates as well from John Norman as they come in on the cricket front. But we've got things to talk about, and I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about next.
Go on.
These speed cameras on motorways.
Unbelievable.
I read a piece yesterday in the Telegraph which said that they've now put new speed cameras up on a section of the M25 in Kent, which I'm pretty sure is the part of the M25 that I drive on, and they've given hundreds of tickets surreptitiously to people because they're not like normal.
They're not advertised.
They're not like normal speed cameras.
No, they're
you
not
don't know
advertised.
they're there.
They're not advertised and they're not yellow. Now, you know when you drive around the motorway now, the M25, it does say on a lot of the stanchions that you go under, you know, with traffic directions on, they do have pictures of cameras.
Yeah.
And allegedly...
Well, they've got those big yellow cameras on the tops, haven't they?
No, they're the...
the average speed cameras.
They're the average speed cameras for roadworks, right? And you mustn't go more than 50 miles an hour, and, you know, you've got to make sure that you enter that area, that zone below 50, and you come out below 50 and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is, fingers crossed, I've never been done for speeding on a motorway. No. But I constantly break the speed limit on a motorway because the speed limit on motorways in this country is ridiculous. Yes, of course I admit to it. Why do you think Germany's such a rich country?
I don't know.
It's such a rich country because they drive their Mercedes and their BMWs and their Volkswagens up and down the autobahns at 100 miles an hour.
Well, they used to have...
And that makes them more prosperous.
Actually. They used to have no speed limit in Germany, but now they do have one. They have
some on some roads.
They have a speed limit of 130 kilometres an hour.
They have some on some roads, but not
the
on...
autobahns now have speed limits.
Rubbish.
Yeah, they do. When was the last time you drove on an autobahn?
When I was there doing the World Cup in 2006, I suppose. And there were no speed limits around then, okay? Right. Now, what I'm saying to you is, if we were allowed to go faster in this country, and I believe that the speed limit should be 90 miles an hour on motorways, I have estimated, because I am a student of economics, that would improve the economy in this country by 1.5%.
Well, you have said that in the past.
Yeah. And that's because you're moving goods and services around more quickly.
Yeah, but
you're moving people around into their places of work and getting to and from work more quickly, and it makes us a much more efficient country.
No.
The speed limit is far too slow for the modern-day cars. Speed limits were made...
Well, I'll tell you what's partially right about what you said. I went down, shall we say, if I go straight from here, which I will do this morning, onto the M25, it's quite busy, right? Now, and when I get people hurtling past at 90 miles an hour, that seems to me to be quite dangerous. When I came up last night, it was around about 11:15. There's nobody on the road.
Exactly.
And obviously they should have a variable speed limit for that.
Exactly. Now, this is what I'm telling you. If I left
but there are times when you can't raise the speed limit.
If I went from here now down to Gosport after this show, it would be... Well, actually, that would be a rush hour, be 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
But if I left you at, say, 4 o'clock, like now, and then went down, there is nothing on the roads on the A3M, which is a motorway down towards the coast, okay? Now, why I've got to drive at 70 miles an hour on an empty road in good weather conditions is beyond me. Yeah. It's ludicrous and utterly ridiculous.
I don't disagree with that. And the plan that the government
you are also using much more fuel by going slowly.
Yeah, and by the way, how cheap is fuel? I just filled up my car. I got quite shocked at how much less money it's now costing.
Well, you realise now the advantage the Americans had all these years and why their economy works and ours doesn't.
Well, I realised that when I lived there.
Yeah, if you overtax the motorist, then you're going to get a negative response back. So it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, remember that we talked about this about a year or so ago, because there was a government plan to increase the speed limit to 80, wasn't there?
Yes.
But they've now apparently shelved that. Nobody really knows why.
Why have they shelved it?
Nobody knows why.
Now, when I went to one of these speed classes, right, I told the guy in the speed class he'd got it all wrong.
Why'd you go to a speed class?
Because I was doing 73 miles an hour.
Where?
On the A3M that I just told you about.
Well, you said you never got a ticket on a motorway.
Never from a fixed camera, but this was...
So you have had a ticket on a motorway?
No, this was a policeman sitting in the back of a white van pointing a camera out the window.
Mobile speed camera.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, so you've still
an absolute disgrace.
Well, you still had a ticket on a motorway.
Yeah, but not from a fixed camera, that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's not what you said.
Are there fixed cameras on motorways in this country at the moment? You see, there's signs saying there are, but I don't know.
There used to be one... I'll tell you where there used to be one on the M9, which is up near Edinburgh.
Yes.
Just as you came in towards the big roundabout, just like by the Edinburgh Airport.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, they put it underneath a bridge.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
How stealthy is that?
Yeah.
But it was on a motorway, though.
Yeah, well, you don't see many of them, and that's a good thing, because we should be allowed to... I mean, for instance, there's a road in the Midlands called the Midlands Expressway.
Right.
And it's the private road. And
is that the M6 toll road?
Yes, that's right, exactly. And you pay, I think, £4.50 or something to get on it. And I think that's great value for money. But once on that road, it's empty. And I have driven on that road at high speed.
Yeah.
way beyond 70 miles an hour, because if you're driving a Jaguar car with a 3-litre engine and fantastic braking systems and steering systems and all that...
Cars are designed to go faster.
I was about to say, when the 70 mile an hour limit was imposed when they built the first part of the motorway network in this country, which was the Preston bypass in 1958. Okay?
We've argued about which was the first real motorway, haven't we? Because there's a little stretch up there in the northwest. Yeah. There's also the M1 was the first actual motorway.
Well,
wasn't it?
The Preston bypass was the first of our motorway system. Right now, the point is that what happened then was all these Formula One racing teams all took their cars up to that stretch of motorway and used it as a test track because there were no speed limits whatsoever.
He used to use the bottom of the M1, which was near where I lived, and that was Bristol cars.
Bristol cars, right,
They've still got a showroom out in my Olympia.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know they are, yeah. So the government then decided, well, actually, I suppose we better have a speed limit. But they made the speed limit appropriate to cars of the day. Yeah. Now, if you were driving round in a Mark I Ford Cortina... or a Morris Minor, like my dad had,
you couldn't have got that up to 100, could you?
No, nowhere near. Nowhere near. It would,
the windows would started rattling.
I reckon the maximum speed in those cars would have been about 65 miles an hour. Yeah. So 70 was very appropriate, and it was almost unobtainable for most cars. Yeah. So why haven't they graded the speed restrictions to the engineering capability of the cars?
Well,
should be.
You know the answer to that, don't you? The answer to that is that they don't want you to burn loads of fuel because it's bad for the planet. That will be the reason.
You don't burn loads of fuel. You get there quickly. You get there more quickly.
No, but you burn more fuel the faster you go.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't. That's a myth. The faster you go, the quicker you get there. Therefore, you're not burning fuel for as long a time. That's the equation.
You do burn more fuel if you go at 100 miles an hour.
No,
yes, you do.
No, rubbish.
It's a basic fact of economics and of physics.
I think the speed limit in this country should be 90 miles an hour, right? And I think that because cars these days are generally safe enough to be able to go at that sort of speed. They can brake from that sort of speed with ease. They can certainly... I mean, when did you last see a car on the hard shoulder with a flat tyre?
When?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Actually.
Very rarely. Very, very rarely. You very rarely see cars break down these days, and that's because they're super efficient compared to what they were in 1958 when the original speed restrictions were imposed. It's an absolute disgrace. It's holding the country back. We could improve the economy by 1.5%. We could burn less fuel by letting the cars go faster so they get there quicker. And if people would just think the way I do, we'd be a much more efficient country. That's my view.
I'm sure that is your view.
And certainly they put these new cameras on motorways. There'll be another driver rebellion. It's an absolute disgrace. Drivers in this country are persecuted against in a massive way.
All right, calm
We've
down.
closed down all the parking facilities in the middle of towns.
Stop it.
And traders are going bankrupt.
You're like one of those Energizer rabbits. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on this morning. We're about to go, I'm sorry to say, at this very sad time, down to Australia to catch up with our good friend Miss Sandra Lee. Just as the Australians are completely whipping us, it has to be said, on the cricket field. Sandra, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
G'day, fellas. How are you?
Not very well
indeed, thank you.
No, we're not very well. Porky doesn't really understand cricket, so he's not that upset.
I do understand cricket, but I don't let these emotional turmoil type things get on top of me, Sandra. You know me. I have to go and be stoic about it.
That's right. Stiff upper lip.
Yeah,
absolutely, quite right.
Now, Sandra, as you know, Mr. Parry wants to ask you about a very important Anzac Day celebration. We had a bit of trouble, Sandra and I, trying to work out precisely what the story was that you wanted to talk to her about, because you sent this rather sort of, strangely yellowed piece of newspaper.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
That I had to pass on to her, which she could barely read because there was a big shadow all over it.
No. Sandra, the point is that the hacker is regarded as, sort of official and... I'm talking about New Zealand now, but it's all about the Anzac Day celebrations. Australia and New Zealand
Have
get
you seen
together.
Porky's hacker, by the way, Sandra? Did you see the one he did when the All Blacks came here?
Yeah, I did. But,
I could imagine.
Yeah, but anyway, what happens is these guys go around the Circle Line in London, and they're all expat New Zealanders or Aussies, right? And then at the end, they all gather in Parliament Square, I think it is, and they do a version of a hacker when they're completely inebriated. It's insulting to their nation, it's insulting to us. It should be stopped, and I want to know your opinion on this as an Australian of great merit.
Well, I don't think any Aussies would be involved in that because Australians take the haka really seriously, and they do. We do know that it's really traditional to the Maori of New Zealand. So unless you are a Maori, I don't think any Aussies would do it.
Is that right?
And they just wouldn't. It's not the done thing.
Sure.
And but most of the time, if they're getting on the terps and they're getting a bit sort of under the weather, they shouldn't be doing it while they're drunk. It's just a bit rude.
Exactly. Of course it is. It's a shocking thing, and they come to our country.
It seems unfitting for the moment, doesn't it?
Completely unfitting. Yeah. But anyway, there we go. I think the greater interest worldwide, Sandra, is this great white shark that's floating around off Bondi Beach. Apparently the biggest shark you've ever had there.
When you say floating around, is it dead?
No, it's not dead, but it's...
Well, it's not just floating then, is it?
No, it's like a submarine. It's being very furtive and trying to...
swimming, really,
Yeah,
isn't
swimming around, that's right, yeah. What's the problem there?
It's swimming around, and apparently it's a beast. It's 1,700 kilograms. Well, that's the estimate of it, 1,700 kilograms, which is fairly big. It's at least about 4 metres long, they say.
Golly, that's bigger and fatter than Mike Graham, 1,700 kilograms.
Ho, ho, ho. How very amusing.
Yeah, I thought it was quite funny.
I'm not entering into that one.
Quite funny, that, yeah. OK, and why can't they find it if it's that big?
Well, they've spotted it several times and they've tried to chase it out to sea several times, but it is an absolutely stubborn creature and it keeps coming back. Obviously, it's coming back because it's looking for food sources, and everyone's hoping that a human isn't going to end up with one of the food sources.
And I mean, you and I have spoken about this before, Sandra, that it doesn't put people off from swimming, the fact that there are this constant sort of presence of sharks. Sometimes, I mean, you even said to us you were going to go down to Bondi Beach and go for a swim not that long ago when there was a shark. And they have this crazy attitude that they chase them back out to sea as opposed to just harpooning them.
I mean, seriously, Sandra,
I've asked Sandra a question there.
I know.
Just asked her a question. Why are you answering?
I'm about to build on it. Why don't the Australian Navy just get one of their
destroyers,
helicopter gunships, find the shark and blow the blinking thing up? I mean, that's the easiest way to solve it.
Spoken like a true animal lover.
I'm telling you, hit it with a missile. Yeah.
I think our Navy have more important things on their
No, they haven't.
list.
The Navy's there to protect life and limb, and if a shark's going to go around eating people, it should blow it up with a sidewinder.
Would you let Sandra answer the question?
Okay.
Sandra, please answer the question. I mean, why did they? What was
it?
Yeah, exactly. What was the question? Why do they continue with this policy of not actually killing the shark?
Exactly.
Well, because the great white is a protected species in Australia. That's number one, because they're dwindling in number apparently. But also, too, because, it's they're masters of the ocean. It's not our place to go and kill them, I imagine, unless they're sort of, really predatory and hanging around and are causing great problems. At the moment, there's another shark that's off the coast of Newcastle, which has been causing more problems because it attacked a pod of dolphins yesterday. And that was only, 20 metres away from where a bunch of snorkelers were sort of paddling in the shallows.
Oh, golly, that doesn't sound good,
and,
does
I mean,
it?
I mean, does that give the sort of the Green Brigade a bit of a dilemma? Because, here's a shark. It's okay if it attacks a few humans, but if it starts attacking dolphins, then that's not so good.
They probably would. That inverted reality that the Greenies have.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Yeah. So, I mean, is this actually stopping people going into the sea at this moment in time, then, or not?
Well, it's bound to.
Excuse me, I'm asking Sandra.
Well, one of the beaches has been closed in succession now for 6 days, which is pretty much unheard of in Australia, in Australian waters. This great white has managed to shut down the beach. Council is saying to everybody on the beach, if you go in, you're going in at your own risk. But of course, if they do go in, the surf lifesavers and the lifeguards will be out there on their skidoos and what have you, getting them in.
Have they given it a name yet? Because I mean, surely in a tabloid-based country like Australia, they'll come up with a name for this shark.
They haven't, actually.
Really?
What do you think? You should ask your listeners what they think it should be called.
Well, it'd be called Whitey or something, wouldn't it? Or or the big one or something like this.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
No wonder they sacked you from the Sun.
Oh, really? Yeah. And what would you have called it then?
Well,
what would you have called it?
Well, I wouldn't have just reeled some stupid thing off. I'd give it some thought.
No, because you've got no instant thought like that. On another situation, Sandra, involving wildlife in Australia, I'm told on good authority, because I keep my eye on these things.
Who've you been told this by?
It doesn't matter, that you've got too many kangaroos now. Because
you want to get the old Navy onto them as well with the helicopter gunship.
Well, no, but it's absolutely true.
You make a day of it.
The price of kangaroo meat has gone down so much that nobody's going around shooting them and serving them up in restaurants. So they're running wild all over the place. Apparently, there's millions of them.
Well, they do breed quite heavily, and every year there is a kangaroo cull that is ordained by various governments of each state where there is deemed to be a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see it. I buy kangaroo for our dog. She eats fresh kangaroo, and it's about $17 a kilo, which would be, what, about £10 in your language?
That's quite expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is quite expensive.
So why aren't people eating it anymore?
I don't know why they're not eating it. I just think that people probably don't want to eat what's on our national emblem, which is a kangaroo and an emu.
Oh, I see. So it's not a traditional dish then in Australian restaurants. I don't remember seeing it when I've been there.
No, not at all. In fact, it's relatively new. I think a lot of people are starting to introduce it to the menu simply because it's quite lean and said to be very healthy for you and low fat content, if any.
I used to go to an Australian restaurant in Kensington, actually, and they had kangaroo meat there.
Really?
It was quite nice.
Well, it'd be a bit of a novelty, wouldn't it? Tell me, Sandra,
sorry to interrupt you.
We saw a programme here a couple of years ago. Some fella called Kangaroo Dundee, they called him, and he set up this great sort of kangaroo camp in the middle of Australia somewhere, and
sure about this?
Yes, I'm certainly.
Kangaroo Dundee.
Yeah, Kangaroo Dundee, and he used to go and rescue little joeys which were abandoned by the roadside after their mothers had been knocked down by cars. Is he still going?
I've never heard of him, but if he is, if he is, I hope he's doing some really good work.
So he's not a national hero then in the eyes of the Australian people.
Are you sure this wasn't like an episode of Flipper you watched?
No. This guy used to have boxing matches with the big boss kangaroo of the local sort of prairie.
Big
you know
boss?
What I mean? Yeah.
John Gotti kangaroo.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then he built fences around an area of land, and
because sure this wasn't some kind of nightmare you had after taking too many. Too many Holston pills.
Because these packs of wild dogs go around eating kangaroos, don't they? And attack them.
Well, that's true, they do. The dingo and the feral animals do eat them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Do attack them, yeah.
And he was trying to protect them, but his whole life was spent rescuing these. He lives in a shack with no electricity, no running water, devotes his whole life to bringing up little joeys, and what he does is he brings them up in pillowcases, because the pillowcase replicates the mother's pouch.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, but I'm amazed you haven't heard of him. He's a cult hero here in England.
No, he isn't. I've never heard of him either.
Yeah, he is. And we all started sending him loads of money to help.
So you've sent this guy money? That's why
I didn't personally. I thought he was a bit odd, but
he says the same about you.
No, he's got a good heart. He's got a good heart. He's trying to save the.
Well, he has got a good heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
As ever, Sandra, we are indebted to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Sandra,
for putting up with that.
It's my pleasure, chaps.
Keep us updated on what's it called? The big one.
The big one.
The shark.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Whitey, the big one.
That's right. Yeah.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out. We've got a few more tweets and texts and emails. I should say, actually, Mr. Parry,
yes.
Despite the fact Sandra had never heard of Crocodile Kangaroo, whatever his name is, Kangaroo Dundee, I have found a website in which it says, watch Kangaroo Dundee on the National Geographic Channel from the 23rd of December 2014.
Yeah.
And there's a whole page. It's in Alice Springs, apparently.
Alice Springs, that's right.
Which is sort of right in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
So I take my hat off to you. I apologise for not knowing about Kangaroo Dundee.
And Christopher sending in a tweet will owe me an apology as well. Right. He says, it's Crocodile Dundee, you dunce Porky. Well, but it's not. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, well,
Crocodile Dundee was the famous film with Paul Hogan.
Yes.
And when they found this guy, they dubbed him Kangaroo Dundee,
And he does run a sanctuary in Alice Springs.
That's right, yeah, absolutely.
So there you are.
Absolutely.
Now, here's an interesting, a couple of interesting pieces of information on the old speed cameras and motorways.
Right.
Here's one from a guy who doesn't give a name. He says, morning, lads. I work on the M25 and I've installed those speed camera markings. Large sections of the M25 have variable speeds in place. Once there is a red circle around a number on the gantry, it means it's in force. And then here's one from John in Doncaster, who says the Jaguar E-Type was responsible for the 70-mile-per-hour speed limit because the Jags were tested on the M1.
Yeah, well, it was something like that. I thought it was Formula One cars. Another one here from a guy called Frankley, LFC.
Frankley?
Yeah, he says, the irony of Porky having to go at someone somewhere for getting their facts wrong. And Kevin Gardner says, they should call the shark the Great White Fatty. It's clearly the Australian cousin of MG. Ha, ha, ha. I like that. Thank you.
I thought you would, yeah. Thank you very much indeed. Now, your pub campaign, which you kicked off last week, about making sure that there were soap dispensers in all pubs.
Exactly.
You said that was going quite well.
It's going well.
You've got another campaign on the go now.
Well, listen, what I don't get, Mike, is this. I don't get this, right. In an area of maybe 1 square mile, I've noticed this week 3 public houses advertising for staff. notices in the windows, staff required. You know, barman, bar ladies required here, and then another one, cooks, chefs. All this kind of stuff. Now, there's 5 million people in this country who don't work.
Yeah.
They're either unemployed or they're on benefits or they're on, sadly on disability allowances.
They're not all
like
in that part of the world, though.
They're not all in that part of the world. But what I'm saying is, I just don't, I don't understand why people can't get jobs in pubs as barman. It's it's good in the labour market that sort of job is transient. You can move from one pub to another.
The thing about pub work, though, is it's not paid very well, is it?
Well, I'm not sure if it is or not, but the point is, it's a job. It's a job, and if the economy is pitched so that it's it's more advantageous for people not to work than to work in a pub, which is part of the social institution of this country, then you've got to change the rules or change the economic factors.
Well, of course, those who would be on the opposite side of the political spectrum from you, and I wouldn't necessarily count myself as one of those people, but if they are paid that much money, then wouldn't it make more sense for the pubs to actually offer a bit more money so that they would then be enticed to get off the benefits and go and work?
Pubs are working on very small margins these days because the amount of tax that the Chancellor takes on drink and beer and all that kind of stuff, never mind
and the fact they banned smoking
price.
as well. The smoking ban has killed pubs. No doubt about that.
Well, it's had a devastating effect on them.
It has killed pubs.
And also, a lot of pubs now don't make you feel welcome anymore unless you're going in there to eat. There's not much area for the pure drinker. It's all the tables are laid out.
But they've done that because it's very hard to make money just selling booze.
Of course it is. Now then, I go into a pub the other day, right? It's a regular pub that I go into in a village in Surrey. You
don't want to be too specific, do you?
No, don't want to be too specific.
You don't want people turning up hoping to.
No.
Some of your luck may rub off on them, and they might come second in the meat raffle.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
Have you got the lamb shoulder? You have got it now.
I've got it. It's in my fridge. I told you I had to clear everything out of the fridge to put it in. It's a big one. Now, what happens is I walk up to the bar, and all the badges on the bar pumps, on the beer pumps, they're all turned round.
Really?
So I said, what's happened here? They said, well, I'm sorry, I haven't got any beer.
Haven't got any beer?
Yeah, I said, this is a pub.
Right.
Why haven't you got any beer? And they said, the girl said, well, we have got beer. There's plenty of beer in the cellar, but when the staff went off last night, nobody tapped the barrels and all the beers ran out. I said, what are you talking about? She said, well, I'm sorry, we have such a...
because it takes time for the beer to go back into the pipes?
No, it's tapping the barrel. It's releasing the pressure from the barrel to be able to plug in, the new line and get the beer up.
Well, how long does that take?
About 90 seconds.
Right. But why don't they just go and do it now?
Because there's nobody trained to do it in the whole of the pub.
What?
I said, what are you on about? She said, well, we have such a turnover.
A very badly run pub.
Very badly run. She said, we have such a turnover of staff here, nobody is trained to tap those barrels.
See, I think that's a bit of an English disease, that.
Well, I mean, the point is, apparently, if you go and tap it, you don't know what you're doing, you just, it explodes all over the cellar and you've got a real problem. So changing the barrel...
Surely it's all kind of, you can only put one bit of it into another bit of it.
Well, that's exactly what I thought. Now,
difficult.
Years ago when I was a student...
you need a degree in physics.
Well, you wouldn't have thought so. Years ago when I was a student at the University of Trent, in Nottingham, I worked...
Nottingham Polytechnic.
I'll ignore that.
You can ignore it if you like, but it was called Nottingham Poly when you were there.
I worked in a pub in Lenton in Nottingham called the 19th and 21st Lancers, I believe it was called.
Oh,
right? And in fact, I was so good at my job as a barman.
A barman?
As a barman.
Right.
I was so good that when the landlord went on holiday with his wife, I was put in charge of the pub.
Really?
So I took the week off from
Was
studies.
he mad?
No. I took
takings must have gone down a bit.
No, they didn't. No, why would the takings gone down?
Oh, because you'd have been drinking all the
rubbish,
all the alcohol in the place.
I took the job very seriously. Now, what happened was...
What, are you telling me you didn't have a drink while you were working behind the bar?
Well, I probably did, but only after we'd closed at night.
What, if somebody said, can I get you a half, as we used to do in pubs?
Yeah, I was never much into that, buying a barman a drink and all that.
No, but when you were on this side of the bar, what happened if somebody said, I'll buy you a half, would you like a half with me?
No, I wouldn't.
That's what used to happen. You'd say no.
I'd say no, yeah, I'd say no. Because I tell you what, the other thing I did as a barman is whenever anybody walked in and said, can I have a drink, please? I would never say, yes, certainly, what sort of a day are you having? Because that's an intrusive question.
Yeah.
And when people say that to me now in pubs, I refuse to answer it.
Do you?
Yeah, I utterly refuse to talk to them.
Well, you're not having a very good day when you walk into a pub and haven't got any beer, that's for sure.
No, you're having a terrible day, you're absolutely right. Now, the point is, because
when was the last time a bar person said that to you then?
What?
Or you haven't had what sort of day you had?
A couple of days ago, somebody said, did you have a nice Christmas? And I just refused to answer, yeah.
Well, what did you do?
I said, just a beer, please, or something like that,
How rude.
No, it's not rude.
It's
intrusive. It's intrusive. Why should they want personal information on what I'm doing? But anyway, look, the point of the story is, I was so good at running this place.
Yeah, of course. Everything you do, you're brilliant at, aren't you?
A drunken Irishman barged in on the darts board, tried to get in a game.
Why is it relevant where he comes from?
Well, because he just happened to be Irish.
Okay.
So, an Irish accent.
It's not relevant.
So I had to throw him out of the pub. But unfortunately, he was a very big Irishman, and he smashed me over the head with a beer jug, which
that explains a lot
which
as well.
cut my head open. And a riot ensued, with tables being knocked over and all that kind of stuff.
Is this why the guy was on holiday?
That's right.
So when he came back,
yeah.
there'd been a riot in his pub.
There'd been a riot, yeah. He smashed up the tables and all that kind of stuff.
So he might not have said that you were so great at your
job. But unfortunately, well, it wasn't my fault, was it? That people were rioting. I mean, I was only trying to impose the will of discipline on the place. But that was my first and last experience of working. But I didn't want to work in a pub after that.
Did he sack you after that?
He didn't sack me. I mean, he came back from holiday and I had to explain why there was a few tables were damaged and a few glasses smashed and
the place was all boarded up.
And I had to bar 6 of his best customers. But I mean, apart from that, it was all very successful.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Another great job by the Porkmeister.
Absolutely.
Getting pubs shut down in Nottingham. I'm delighted to say that we are now about to welcome our television review section into the show. Mike Parry, of course, has been doing this now for several weeks, proving very popular, shall we say, yardstick of how good or bad or otherwise the television is. And I must say, after you told me about Broadchurch last week, and I was slightly kind of underwhelmed by the idea that it was the same storyline carrying on to the second series. I watched the first one last weekend, and I thought it was rather good.
It is. It's very good. Now I've seen the second one.
But I haven't seen the second one yet, so please don't tell me what happens.
No, that's hard luck. That's hard luck.
Can't you just describe it without telling me what happens?
I'm not going to hold back on delivering what I believe is my duty to our millions of listeners, just because you can't be bothered to watch the television on time.
It's not a question of that.
Sleeping off an excessive lunch or something like that.
I on a Monday evening, as I've told you many times before, even though we're working together on Monday evening again as ever, I have to spend a lot of time researching stories. I have to get some sleep. I have to eat dinner. I haven't got time to watch the TV.
Load of rubbish. Anyway, what happens in Broadchurch is that we get to know more about this mystery woman who is on the witness protection programme, or a sort of witness protection programme, and she...
Oh, yeah, the woman who suddenly appeared out of nowhere.
That's right, and she's trying to hide away from her former boyfriend, whom she gave, or I think it's a husband, a former husband, who she gave evidence against in a case in which he was cleared of abduction/murder, right? Of 1 or 2 women who've gone missing. It's all, sort of complicated, but if you follow it closely, and that developed into a brilliant twist at the end where they disappeared together. Right. They eventually met, and then, oh no, they've gone, bang, and they're off, And
Who's disappeared at the end?
Well, the woman who was being kept in the witness protection programme eventually agrees to meet the bloke she's being protected against, who is her former husband, right?
Oh, right. Isn't she scared of him?
Yes, she's supposed to be terrified of him. That's why she
agrees to meet him then?
Because he sends a message via the cops saying he has no evil intentions towards her and he needs to meet her. He was cleared of the crime anyway. They meet in a house, right, a safe house. But then David Tennant, who plays a leading cop, gets distracted by a
He seems fine, by the way. Isn't he supposed to be suffering from some terrible sort of malaise?
A heart illness.
Heart illness?
Heart illness, yeah. I recognise the symptoms.
Is it similar to yours, then?
Well, only 1/3 of my heart works,
What is it called? Something myopathy?
Mine is dilated cardiomyopathy, but there are many forms of it. Okay. There is atrophic cardiomyopathy. Right. And it's a very complicated business. But he
seems much better in the second series than he was in the first one.
He seems to be, yeah. Anyway, and the other twist is that the man who originally confessed to the murder of Danny, the boy who was murdered and found at the bottom of the cliff.
Yes.
Because we were talking about falling off cliffs last week, and a lot of people seem to have taken that up as a cause and wonder whether it could have been good for my health.
Well, it wasn't really a cliff, was it?
Well, it was a cliff, but I'm not going over that again.
No.
But, and of course, the guy who confessed at the end of the first series and is now on trial at the start of the second series is the husband of Olivia... Is it Coleman?
I don't know.
Olivia.
You're the TV
Yeah,
reviewer.
I know. But she's the lead cop-ess, like a woman policeman in this...
Police officer.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
WPO.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. In this series, and much to everybody's horror, he's gone into court and pleaded not guilty when everybody thought he was going to plead guilty.
Yeah.
And... Oops.
Yeah, don't give it away.
That was well known. That was well known from the first episode.
Yeah.
And what that means now is that she has now been accused of beating him up in custody.
Yeah.
Because you remember at the end of the first series, she goes in and sees him.
Gave him a good kicking,
Giving him a good kicking, smacked her. So now the whole court case has been thrown into confusion because the judge will not accept the confession, saying that there's it could have been beaten out of him because of the physical assault.
Rubbish, isn't
and
it?
David Tennant was supposed to have just stood there and watched her beat him up. So it's all... Oh, and the other thing, which is great, and this is going to be really great...
Now, hang on.
Is what?
You're not going to tell me something I don't want to know.
No, there's a sleazy vicar.
Is there?
Knocking around all over the place.
From the young guy.
No, he's the one. He's the sleazy vicar.
Oh, right.
And he's going up to jail and seeing the accused man, and then he's coming out of jail and he's telling people all sorts of strange stories, and he's telling the accused man, you've got to plead guilty, almost as if you think, well, hang on, why does he want the accused man to plead guilty? Could he have a secret to hide himself?
Wow.
So it's all very interesting stuff, okay? Pretty
Well, I'll
interesting
hope
stuff.
to watch it this weekend.
Hope to watch it this weekend, yeah. And by the way, as a sidebar to that, somebody did a feature on the properties. What's the name of the town again?
West Bay.
West Bay, that's right. But of course, it's Broadchurch in the TV show.
Yes.
And David Tennant lives
Dorset.
in a pavilion, like a pavilion on the edge of the water.
Does he?
Yes. And the chief prosecuting barrister, played by Charlotte Rampling.
Yes, she lives up on the hill.
Lives on a lovely big house up on the hill.
She's aged a bit, hasn't she?
Yes, with fantastic views. And apparently that's worth well over £1 million.
I bet it is.
And the chalet's worth about 320.
Yeah, well, it's quite trendy down there.
It is quite trendy. Where is it again?
In Dorset.
It's on the Jurassic Coast,
It
is
is,
it? Yeah, right, okay. Well,
It's just along from sort of Lyme Regis.
It is spectacular. So that's gripped me. That really has gripped me. Still watching Coronation Street, of course.
Oh, yeah.
A few developments there, which, I could tell you about or couldn't. Still watching Dallas. Sometimes in the mornings when I'm up and around.
Well, what about this Henry VIII? I've actually sent a picture out of you.
Wolf Hall.
I've sent a picture out of you juxtaposed with Henry VIII.
I think that's...
To see whether anybody thinks you look like
But,
him.
I mean, this is going to be fantastic, honestly, this Wolf Hall thing. Now, the guy who's playing Henry VIII is Damien Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not actually about Henry VIII. It's about Thomas Cromwell, his Chancellor.
Is it?
Was he a Chancellor?
Well, you're the expert.
Well, hang on. I'm going to find all this out.
Well, you're
let
supposed
me
to
see.
find it out now.
Yeah.
You You're an expert on Henry VIII.
I am, yeah. Right, now here we go. Cromwell is the central figure in Wolf Hall, and he was the son of a Putney blacksmith and a cloth merchant and innkeeper. And he became master of the roles, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Lord Privy Seal and Lord Great Chamberlain, OK? So it's really all about him. But what it does is, Mike, having researched what the show's all about, is it gives you the most vivid insight we've ever had of the Tudor court and of the way of life of that era, right? Okay? You've got to remember that Henry VIII was the man who founded my school, the King's School Chester.
Well, that's not really the thing that he's most famous for, is it?
Well, no, but it means I have a huge... what's the word I'm looking? Connection with him. What's
Affinity.
The word? Affinity. Huge affinity with Henry VIII. I feel almost like he is a distant relative.
Really?
And, you're right to have taken that picture of me with that poster.
How long have you been having these delusions of grandeur?
No, because there is a very, very obvious resemblance between Henry VIII and myself. The man looks imposing.
Well, as Sandy said, he's a lot taller than you.
He looks
6'3".
No.
Well, you're saying he wasn't 6'3".
I'm not saying he wasn't, but 6'3" in Tudor times is different to 6'3" today. And he was still a sort of short, fat, and squattish sort of man. You see what I mean?
Squattish?
Yes, squattish.
I thought he was English.
No. Squat. Squat.
Oh, Scottish.
Yeah, see what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this is adapted from a very famous series of books.
Wolf Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Written by...
Do you know who wrote it?
Yeah, famous woman.
Yeah, who?
And, well, that is relevant. And Wolf
First
Hall...
name Hillary?
Hillary, that's right, Hillary.
Second name?
Not
Begins
Ben.
with M?
Not Ben.
Not Hillary Benn, no. That's not a woman.
Hillary Mantle, was it? Hillary Mantle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it
As in
Mantle?
Mantelpiece.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Now, Wolf Hall, because I researched this as well,
Yeah, good.
was a baronial mansion on the edge of the Savernake Forest.
Yes.
Which is in Wiltshire.
It is indeed.
Near where you used to live.
Not a million miles from where I used to live in Marlborough. Yeah.
In Marlborough, that's right. And you go through Marlborough
Although,
to the Savernake
bizarrely, I
Forest.
don't think I ever went there. I didn't even know of its existence.
I didn't know of its existence, but it's a German name, Wolfhell, and that was turned into Wolf Hall in this country, OK? Now, the point...
I don't know if it's open to the public. Maybe that's why.
No, I don't think it is. Now, the other thing is, Henry had all these palaces which have all been wrecked. Now, we all know about Hampton Court Palace, right? Because that's near me, and I go there often. Yeah. In fact, I went to a mutual friend of ours' 25th wedding celebrations there.
Where?
Hampton Court Palace, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was on the table with Lawrence Delalio and a few people like that. You know, it's quite an upmarket thing. But an absolutely...
What were you doing there?
Hey?
What were you doing there?
Because that's where the celebration was. And a stunning building. And I go there even when there's not something going on, just to walk around. I like looking at the maze and the gardens and the interior buildings, because, of course, they have all these people dressed up as, like, chefs and cooks and Henry VIII and all that kind of stuff. It's very good. But in addition to that...
It says Wolf Hall's one of the area's missing tourist attractions.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's, like, demolished, isn't it? Yeah. And now, in addition to Hampton Court Palace, he had Whitehall Palace, which...
You haven't told me anything about the TV show yet.
Well, I'm going to tell you that in a minute.
How does it start?
Whitehall...
we haven't got any time.
No, Whitehall Palace,
finished.
which is demolished apart from the wine cellar, which is under the Ministry of Defence. You didn't know that, did you? I've just told you.
Well, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in
look at the light! And the other one is, you've got another palace somewhere else. I can't remember where it was now. A Greenwich Palace. You've got one at Greenwich as well.
Well, there's a famous tree, isn't there, in Greenwich?
Famous tree.
Under which he proposed marriage.
Yeah. But the thing is, the best part about it is going to be when you see the feasts, OK?
What about the cod pieces that Sandy was talking about?
The cod pieces are part of the wardrobe, obviously.
Right.
Because,
we're out of time now.
No, because men used to get roughed up by the rough and coarse material that clothes were made of, so that was a protective measure.
Well, that's a fantastic TV review of Wolf Hall.
No.
You can catch up with it next week. That was the Two Mics podcast.
Yes, it certainly was. Don't forget, it's out every Tuesday and every Friday morning on iTunes.
And you can follow us at the Two Mics.
So keep listening for more of MG's loose morals. Believe me, this boy hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
And more of his bizarre buffoonery.
What?